Now, how about drums? An instrument everybody loves.
Yes, yes, yes. Good evening, everyone. How's it going? Welcome back to another live stream. Hope everyone's doing well today. Before I continue, can I please get a mic check just to make sure that I'm coming through clear and sound? I think I am, but just let me know in the chat whether I'm coming through nice and clear. Just press a one in the chat to see that you can hear me and that the mic's not too bad. So let me know how that all comes through. But yeah, so welcome again to another edition of, I suppose, these Black History Month live streams, and hope you all are doing well today. Hopefully today is going to be a nice, really engaging one. I'm not going to again labor too long. I'm going to try and keep my monologue brief just so I can get everyone's input as much as they can do, because I figured we usually go along for quite a long time. So I thought, you know what, let me just, I followed some of the same format I did last time. I think I'll get a better throughput. So yeah, I'm definitely going to put the link in the chat soon, but I'm just going to give a little short intro. You know how it is, a little short intro, just so I can set the scene, set the stage a light as to what I'm talking about and where I'm coming from. But yeah, a lot of ones in the chat. So let me say what's up to the chat. Now, SA Red Pill, I saw you in the chat beforehand. I don't know who you were talking to because I couldn't see the person. But if you're on the chat, welcome. But I couldn't see that person, but you was going live off in the chat. KB, how's it going? Nice to see you again. R&B, likewise. Welcome to the show. Yes, thank you, Fiona. Please make sure everyone remember to like the video as you come in. If you are new, please sure you hit the subscribe button. But yeah, make sure everyone hits the likes. That would be well appreciated. Kaname, yep. Hopefully, yep. Be interesting topic. So glad to see you here. Hopefully, have a interesting topic. But yeah, so title of this live stream is always been a controversial one, and you know I wanted it to be that way because I was thinking to myself, geez, during this month in particular, if anything, this does show is the title of this live stream. So the title of it is called "Are Black Men Failures and Always Conquered?" Now, during this month, we hear all the time, not to the fault of us, because we have different viewpoints, but all the time we always hearing, slavery this, slavery that, white supremacy this, white supremacy that. That's the reason why we're in this situation right now. Going back 400 odd years, and depending on who you believe and what historian you buy into, even thousands and thousands of years back. So as far as I'm aware, as far as I've been alive, there's always been something called white supremacy. There's always been something called, I suppose, critical race theory and all this other kind of overtures that just seem to put black people in a submissive mindset, colonialism, all that kind of other stuff. You reel down the list of what, when it comes to not just this month, but just in general, of what we always hear about, what's always talked about, preached about. It's just ingrained in the psyche of when you talk about, the black experience, the African experience. Now, again, a lot of people have been trying to come away from that viewpoint. I get that, but still, we all know what the main viewpoint is when it comes to our history. But I thought to myself, you know what? Doesn't this not show us as black men in a bad and negative light? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, people, let me know. What is the role of a man? I mean, at the moment we're going through this, we're in sort of threat of what we like to call masculinity. People keep calling everything toxic masculinity. But ultimately, what is the responsibility of a man? And then as a collective, men, is it not to protect and provide? Now, with that being said, knowing about everything I've just said beforehand about how we've basically been enslaved, colonized, all this kind of other stuff, doesn't that show us to be the biggest group of collective failures? I mean, think about it. If our charge is to protect and provide, and Aaron B, you said to go and hunt, that's part of it. That's part of the whole providing provision. If we have failed to do that for so long, and you guys are saying everything's about racism, everything's about white supremacy, everything's about critical race theory, everything's about, we just can't overcome. It's this invisible boogeyman. I always hear, and it's always interesting when I hear a lot of so-called black scholars, and they're always with the goalposts just so they can say the reason why they're in the situation that they're in is not due to their own fault, but due to this invisible. It has to be like some white man, I'm assuming, white male or some crap like that, some invisible, Wizard of Oz man, the man behind the actual curtain, where we don't know who he is, we don't know exactly where he is. You can't point to this. Who are these white supremacists? But they're out there. They're out there in full force, trying to just basically destroy the collective of black people. And I'm like this, but hold on a second. If that's the case, then surely, there's either two things that must be, there's either two things in my mind, how that plays out in my head. Number one, they're either that much smarter and that much better than we are because we can't seem to navigate the world of white supremacy. So either they're that much smarter than us to set up a system that can go on for centuries and we still not know how to overcome it, or number two, we have failed in our charge as a collective of men, i.e., we do not know how to actually protect and provide. Because if that's what's coming at harm to us, because again, I always hear how we're at risk from here, from this institution, that institution, we can't get here, we're not being protected here, there, and everywhere. I'm like, hold on a second. So that must mean we cannot do the one fundamental, or say the two fundamental things, the basic fundamental things that as a man, we should hold responsible. And KB Jones, you said it also as well, to heed and to lead, or to head and to lead, which is true. Let's say red pill, take care of the family. That is all part of our charge. And on that note, take care of the family, because this is, again, this is a typical manosphere talking point when it comes to what's wrong with the black community. Every single time when it comes to, and this is another thing about responsibility and accountability. And again, I don't want to go down this typical, stereotypical male hating. I don't like that kind of crap, but I'm just going to just call it as it is. And again, I'm going to drop the link in a bit so you can have your own say and let me know what your thinks about this. But when we talk about the family, we always talk about, oh, the woman did this, our women did this, our women did that. And I'm thinking to myself, every single time I listen to guys say this, at back of my mind is things, a part of your masculinity, a part of your manhood keeps dwindling, because every single time you're like this, oh no, it's always the woman's fault, it's the woman's fault. I'm like, come on now, if we are the strongest sex, and men seem to agree to this, especially manosphere guys, they agree that men are meant to be the leaders, men are the strong ones. I'm like, hold on a second. So how have you or how are you holding the responsibility of the community in the hands of a weaker vessel? Doesn't that show your weakness? Doesn't show your strength, but your weakness. And I'm like, come on now. Every single time when it comes to this position, it's always somebody else did something to me. Somebody else did something to me. It's always somebody else's fault. And I'm thinking to myself, hold on a second. This is not to say that bad things didn't happen. Don't get me wrong. Facts are the facts. But does it not show us in a negative light when we keep banging on the drum, especially nowadays, especially now, when he talks about, oh, we can't get anywhere, we can't do anything, or racism is this. And again, they had a commission report earlier this year where the conservatives were trying to, I want not negate racism, but downplay it. And all of a sudden, it's just like this. Oh, no. Racism's alive and kicking. Racism's alive and kicking. And I'm like, listen. I'm not saying that racism's dead. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm not saying that there are issues, legacy of, we call it colonialism when it comes to image. I'm not saying there isn't, but it all points to one thing. Surely that's down to our collective failures as black men to protect, to provide, to lead, to take charge of the family. If you look at our family structure, that is usually a sign of the overall strength of the community structure. It all starts from the home. Now we say apparently now our home is divided. That's what the narrative is. So I'm going to go with that viewpoint or that notion. The house is divided. So if the house is divided, that means we've not done what we're supposed to do. Now, again, I know everyone in the chat's going to call back, well, it's because of this, because of that, because the feminism 101. And here we go with all these funny ways to try and almost obscure men from some of their responsibility. And I'm like, look, again, I'm not to downplay the fact that there are legitimate situations, but we're acting like we're the only group of people who laws have applied to in terms of feminism. We're acting like we're the only group of people who've gone through certain issues, but those groups somehow manage, at least from the outset, to do a better job when it comes to their family structure and their family unit. So I'm like this, does that not point to a little bit of our failures as men to do what we are supposed to do? That's exactly when this month in particular, when I hear a lot of the things that go on and talked about. And again, I'm not saying that again, it's all negative. There are success stories that we do hear, and I want to keep hearing that when it comes to this month. But I'm like this, hold on a second. If we're going to go with this narrative about all this slavery, colonialism, all this, white supremacist viewpoint, critical race theory, I'm thinking to myself, all right, cool. But that just points to us as men as being failures. That's why sometimes I don't like talking about this sort of stuff. I talk about it in terms of its proper context, but talk about how it affects us today. I'm not down with that. I'm not down with this whole nonsense about the reason why we can't make it out of our current struggle, our present struggles, because of all these things that happened in the past. There are things I agree with, but most of it, and I mean like over 80% of it, I do not agree with. It's just another form of excuses. And that's exactly what I see. That's right, KB. That's exactly what I'm hearing. Excuses. But the thing is, it's one thing when it comes from a woman's mouth, and this is just, I'm just going to keep it real. It's one thing when excuses come from a woman's mouth, because you kind of expect it. You expect the complaints. You expect the whole, it's not my fault. You expect the whole no responsibility. That's apparently that's what we expect. But when it comes from a man's mouth, that is the worst. That's why sometimes when women are like, oh, why are you guys on this? It's because it sounds different coming from a man as opposed to a woman. And this is exactly what this is my thought process when I was looking at all these, Black History Month type of months, and when all the things that I see online, whether it be social media, things in my workplace, I'm like, bro, there are other things which every single time I listen to this, it just reminds me of our failures, hence the thumbnail. I mean, listen, I know people say other groups were in slavery. I know that's the case, but this is unfortunately seems to be our defining legacy at this moment of time. And our defining moment of legacy, our thing that actually brings us into the spotlight of history, seems to be mostly based on our failures as opposed to our strengths. So surely just being a logical person, that must mean that us as Black men are failures. And take it to the present day as well when it comes to our family structures. We talk about the single mother rate. Again, another situation where I've seen it, so many videos where all of a sudden now men will say this, oh, women choose the guys who they sleep with. Okay, facts. Women do this, women do this, women do that. It's not man's fault. I'm like, so hold on a second. So the woman just impregnated herself. I'm like, men are so quick nowadays, even today, to try and, whenever it is, obscure responsibilities. And these are guys who themselves have kids with other women. These are the guys themselves who have done some messed up shit. And I'm like, hold on a second. It's so interesting how you can pick up at every single part of the scenario, the situation that will just resolve you from your responsibility. When it comes to women, there's no way out for the woman to get any sort of leeway. She can't have made a mistake. She couldn't have just, had a brain freeze. She couldn't have just been a bit immature. No. On the woman, she knew what she was doing. She meant to do that. That's exactly her response. That's exactly how her charge was. But when it comes to the guys now, oh, no. It's because of, feminism. It's because we weren't raised by men. We were raised by women, as if all of a sudden you're dumb. You're like 18. And these are guys who aren't even like 16, 17. These are guys who are like 30 plus, 40 plus. All of a sudden now, it's because they were raised by single mothers. All of a sudden it's because of this excuse. All of a sudden it's because of that excuse. I'm like, hold on a second. You can come up with every excuse to make it clear as to why you're the way you are. When it comes to women, again, it's no excuse. It's all their fault. They knew exactly what they're doing. They have no reason to actually say, I was raised by a single mother. I didn't know. It's all excuses. And it just comes down to, there's certain things that we have to hold ourselves to a higher account for, whether it be in the past, whether it be in the future, all these kind of other things. So I'm just like, this is one of the reasons why I thought to myself when I was creating this live stream and looked at the title, and I was like, you know what? When we talk about our history, when we talk about our past, a lot of time it's rooted around failures, it's rooted around another group of people. This is another thing as well. There's one thing if it was our own group of people who were just subduing our own group of people. Like in, if anyone knows about European history, you know about, the French and the Brits, how, there was a back and forth, how you had the Spanish, how obviously the Germans, all of these were intercultural wars. World War I, World War II, they were all white tribes, if you like, warring against each other for battle for power. You had the Western world and how that was created. All these were Western intercultural groups vying for power. And ultimately, you look at the makeup of the West, it's all basically white groups, whether it be the Brits, the Canadians, the Americans, the Aussies, the Kiwis. Even though they come from pretty much the same stock, they are all white groups who are vying for power. Where I'm like, it's not like a outsider has actually dominated the white groups. And that's how it is today. But for us, it's like, even though we've had intercultural wars and it's still going on today, the prevailing viewpoint is an outsider group, whether it be Arabs during their slave trade, whether it be the Hyksos period, and obviously now when it comes to European period, European colonialism is all outside powers, which makes it look even worse when you think about this. I can handle it if it was another black group, if I'll be frank, but an outsider force who had to build ships just to come down here, that makes it even worse. It's not like it was on our homeland. It's not like it was on anything else. It was outsiders. And we're talking about outside. It's just, listen, the optics, guys, it just looks crazy. It just looks mad. And this is why sometimes I think to myself, you know what? We need to chill with a lot of this critical race theory, chill out with this colonialism, because it just makes sense. I don't know how, again, this is what I want your feelings on this, I want your impressions of it. What I'm going to do, I put the link in the chat because, again, I didn't want to speak too long. I didn't want it to be some long drawn out thing because I know our live streams can get quite crazy. So I've pinned the live stream to the top of the chat, so you should be able to see it. So by all means, hop on. But this is the kind of thing which I was just looking at. Like, when we celebrate our failures, it looks worse on us guys than I think a lot of people give it credit for. We try and unpick everything and we always lay it on the hand of it's always some external force. I'm like, listen, that makes us as men look extremely, extremely weak. And I'm like, do you like weakness? But again, when it comes to suits our narrative, we do. When it doesn't, guess what? Oh yeah, here it comes, white supremacy. That's the reason why we couldn't get that job. White supremacy, all this kind of other stuff. And I'm like, bro, it makes you look weak. Other groups seem to be able to navigate it a lot better. Is it perfect? No, but it is what it is. So again, like I said, I've linked links in the chat. I pinned up the link, so let me know exactly. Again, come in if you wish. But that's exactly what the backdrop of this live stream was talking about. It was just saying, you know what, we look weak out here when we talk about this kind of stuff. All right, Jesse. Okay, you sure? Are you sure? You sure you want to come on like that? All right, okay.
Yeah.
All right, Jesse. How's it going?
How's it going? I told you, next time I'll be on camera.
Yeah, I thought you meant like on your own show. I didn't know if you meant in terms of just in general. So I don't mind. I just wanted to make sure that before I put you up on this live stream, you were cool, just to make sure that, you know, I wasn't gonna, you know what I mean, dox you, as they say.
Man, like, this is a good topic, you know. I think there's a short question to say, and is this, would you say black people in the UK or would you say globally?
Well, let's start with the UK because I've been listening to UK people.
Well,
if you want to say globally, you can do, but definitely from here.
I'm going to keep it UK, right? Because obviously I don't know much about globally, but I definitely know a lot about the UK. And unfortunately, I'll say yes, right? But I'm not going to say majority of black men, right?
Okay.
There is a group of black men that did step up, try to fight for our rights, so on and so forth, right? If you know about the story of Leroy Logan, right?
Yep.
There's a few individuals out there that made a big difference, so that, you know, black people in the UK could just, you know, could basically live a bit more freer, as we do now, right? But the problems I see, where I would say, yeah, some of us, keyword some, not all, where we went wrong is, what did we leave? What did the black men then leave for the next generation? Because if you look at, because during my childhood, I was around a lot of like Asians, right? I have family, or I had family who are Asian, right? And you can see how they operate. If you know a place called Southall, very populated with Asians and so on and so forth. And when I was very young, I used to see how they would operate, and they would talk to me about, like, especially like family members, they'll talk about how things go, like how things operate. For example, they will do group economics. They'll make sure that, for example, you'll have like one family that would work in the night and one family that will work in the day, and so on and so forth. And you could look at, there's even documentaries on this about how Asians were even breaking it down, like the really old ones were breaking how they built up where they were to be. It says, I think it was called The Pride of Southall or something like that. I was watching that today with my mother, right? And even though they dealt with a lot of prejudice, right, and they dealt with a lot of racism during that time, they still managed to get things done. They still managed to build, you know, they still managed to own property. They still managed to own businesses, you know, even like all the chicken shops you see, like the popular chicken shops you see right outside of KFC.
Asians, aren't there?
Yeah, they're all owned by Asians.
Yeah.
And during that time, it took a long time to build those businesses up, and they dealt with a lot of racism just as blacks. So I just think like we should have, like, the generation before should have had something built up for the next generation of children, and for so I could let other people. Yeah,
I was just going to ask you on that, because this is one of the things I was going to get to in sort of the panel. But you know, because you mentioned basically they built up a community, economic ecosystem between them as a group. Because wherever you are in the UK, I don't know where, it doesn't matter where you are, whenever you have a group of Asians, you can tell, because they have shops built for themselves, whether it be chicken shops, they have their own grocery store, when it comes to their foods. Obviously, you have hair care products that obviously we go to. They have like an ecosystem wherever they are, where they seem to just cultivate keep themselves to themselves. But you can tell this is an Asian area based on, and have so many different shops. Whereas I'm like, I'm like, I don't know if it's just where I am, but I don't see the black equivalent. I'm like, we've been here just as long. And I'm not saying it has to be exactly the same, but what does our look like? What does our blueprint look like? And I'm like, does that mean that it's our responsibility as men? We've failed the charge. Is that how you see it? Or am I?
That's how I see it, yeah. Because maybe I can't really like talk on, let's say, in the 70s and the 80s, because I wasn't born. I was born in 1991, right? So my perception of that obviously is going to be different, but based on what I'm seeing now and the effects of what's happening now, really black men don't really have much to really talk about. Like, for example, you could look at a lower class demographic, right? Non-black demographic, and even though they're lower class or they're middle class or middle lower class, they probably have a car ready, for their child, even though it may not be the best car. It may be like a simple car to get around with. They probably have that, or they'll have a wheel or something like that. Because I remember Falcon Black, right? Because I watched Falcon Black for a while. I was also in the Black Manosphere at the time. I'm no longer there anymore. But I remember him talking about how he, like, in Nigeria, I think it was from Nigeria, I'm not 100% sure. If he's in the chat, clarify with me, that he had inheritance, but that inheritance was spread around like numerous relatives, so everyone was fighting over it. They couldn't really get it, I've also experienced something like that, where my father, who passed away, said, look, I got a house for you in Grenada. I don't know about this house. I don't know where it's been. I don't know if it even exists.
Oh wow.
You dig? So
yeah,
this is the type of problems. They haven't really laid down a foundation for the generation up, because the way I could tell the difference is because I was a youth worker, and even just having like different ethnic friends, right? I know a friend, right, who he's like Asian, right? And he has like a community, right? Where if he wants to get a job, he don't have to go job center. He don't have to put in a CV. All he has to do is go to these group of people and they'll put him on. Like us, we ain't really got that unless there's someone moving in that way, right? Because we ain't really building businesses like that. Yeah, we got a few little businesses here and there, but it's not like an institution, if you get what I'm saying.
And not only that, though, our business that we do have right now that's still going ain't that great. Takeaways, barbershops, our industries that we do have, the little ones that we do have. Listen, that's a whole nother stream about how our unprofessional, shoddy nature. But yeah, I hear you, man. I'm just gonna try and pivot to the rest of the chats.
Get some others.
I like your point of view, because obviously you're one of the people who's out there in the field, isn't it? So I like that kind of stuff. Red Pill, how's it going? Welcome.
What's up, man? I just connected to my speaker. Emma, can you guys hear me clearly?
Yeah, man, loud and clear.
I'm not. You're not hearing any feedback, right?
No, not yet. No.
Okay, cool. I mean, yeah, man. Of course, I agree with you. I just remember the first time I talked to you on the Commanders panel. I remember mentioning Cynthia G, and I know you were literally the first guy who once. I think you asked me, you're like, okay, but have you ever really thought about what she's saying? And I'll be honest with you, at the time I wasn't thinking a lot about it, but later on I did think about that question you asked me. You know what I mean? And I'm not like a supporter of Cynthia G or anything, but I don't know, there's just moments that like she's talking and I'm like, damn, like there's a lot of, like she's not lying, right? Like she's not perfect, but a lot of the things she's saying though, and then like obviously I'll be honest with you, I don't constantly follow. Maybe if something like trendy happens on a channel, I'll follow. But then there'll be guys that are calling in, and then she would ask them. It's almost like she's like the man on their conversations, like she's analytical. When she asks the men, like, what are you gonna contribute? What have you built? He's like, no, you're gonna understand what supremacy. I'm like, you're a man. And then she tells him, like, you're a man. You know, and she does that voice thing, right? And then it's like, black me, you must understand I'm a black me. You know, when she does that shit, I'm like, yeah, that's literally how we sound. Like, we sound like a bunch of women out here, right? And
Yeah,
like, I don't know if it,
just want to clarify my point. I just want to clarify in terms of my viewpoints. I'm going to say this: the title's obviously provocative, and you know it's work because people got obviously 20 odd people in the chat, so you know that's all good. But all I'm saying to this is, I think we've like dropped the ball. I don't. Conquered is a word which is a much different word in my mind. But only if we keep talking about the way we do. That's when it's like, okay, then we have to be conquered. But I think we as men have dropped the ball. We need to pick it back up again. But I just want to make sure that it's clear for everyone in the chat. So, oh, you don't be stupid. I'm a guy. I know what time it is. You know what I mean? I ain't conquered. I don't feel that way. But I'm just saying, as a group, we have dropped the ball. That's where I think we think. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So here's the set. But okay, do you guys want solutions now? Like, I was gonna start talking about the solutions after an hour or something.
I tell you,
because the way I think, like, if I'm gonna be honest, right? Like, you guys want me to be honest, like really honest.
Yeah, please.
Is that I think black people are where they are mainly because we don't practice selective breeding. And it's something that people are kind of scared to go into. But genetics does play a part. Like, a lot of people like to align skin tone with intelligence, and that's not true. Like, there's a reason why you will have, I mean, you have black doctors, engineers, and poets. I'm just saying, like, there are multiple streams of black people who are like in roles where, you know, you predominantly don't say that you're not smart enough to be in those roles, and sometimes we're even dominating them, right? And yeah, like, and I feel like that's a topic nobody really wants to talk about. Like, people always want to come in, people always want to do this. I'm gonna motivate that. Look, I'm gonna say something maybe that's kind of controversial. They want to motivate the worthless gene pool into being useful, right? You want to motivate. I know it sounds messed up, Mr. Official, but it is the truth. You really trying to convert pookie gene pools into being constructive and building something. That's stupid.
Bro, can I be next? Because I can't wait to talk. Hold on.
You are next, KB. You are next. So you know what I mean. It's all good. You are next.
If you wanna reply to me, KB, or
no, carry on. It's just something White Matter said, and then something that you said. Just no. But I'm nodding my head too, like Jesse. I'm nodding my head too. Don't worry. But carry on. Go on, bro.
Okay, yeah. It does play. Look, I don't know if you know Kevin in sales. I also always say this. We always say this. There's this guy called Kevin in sales. Well, he talks about, I think that the wording is eugenics, you know, where you do selective breeding. And I think that's one of the things that people never notice about white people, particularly. Like, white people do practice selective breeding. Like, they may not say it, but in essence, that's literally what they practice. This is one of the main reasons when you're a white person and you're not productive and you don't contribute anything, they really consider you less than human. In fact, I would even say that they'll consider you less than human compared to a black person. This is why you see a Bill Gates would start a fund to really help a bunch of black people, right? I'm just saying, literally, you see white billionaires that are opening funds to help blacks, but yet there'll be white hobos out there and they're not helping them. Because to them, they understand that, look, these guys are useless. Like, these guys are, I can't help something that can't be helped, right? And that's something that as black people, I feel like we need to separate. I'm gonna say it. We need to actually. So that is the only way I see us thriving, right? Because this thing of trying to convince stupidity to be smart, that won't work.
KB,
yeah,
man.
I'm done.
Thanks to you. How's it going first? How's it going?
Yeah, all good. It's all good, man. How's everybody? Everybody good? Can you not hear me? My headphones on.
Yeah, it's a little bit muffled, but we can hear.
Hold on. Let me sort that out. Just stay right there. One sec.
Because if you really think about it, right? Since maybe, I thought you were pausing. I was gonna also mention the whole, it's not like Africa was always a dump. Like, most people, I'm sure we don't, maybe because we never get taught about this, but there was a golden age in Africa. You know, I'm sure all of us here know Mansa Musa, right? We all know him.
Yeah, I do.
You know,
Having said that, though, I've heard a lot of things that his wealth is due to like slavery as well. But continue.
Not servants. He never. Okay, the thing about Mansa Musa, and this is the weird thing about that man, right? Is he was actually a giving person. Like he actually went to Egypt and like started giving people multiple gold, and which made gold damn near valueless. The three commodities that he sold the most and that were very expensive was salt and gold. Like there was a time when back then was worth more than gold itself, right? Because you could actually use it. Like he actually had there was a time where the entire world got most of its gold from Mali at that time. Like it was a powerful empire, right? It was a really powerful power, it was big. It lasted for a very long time, right? So I'm mentioning this to show that it's actually possible, man. We've done it before. We've literally done it before. Mansa Musa, the fact that we still know about him means that there's an impact he brought to the world that we can still notice it. So this, I don't know, I'm just trying to throw the whole, I don't know, maybe there's a white guy here watching thinking it's because they're black or whatever, that's what they feel. But no, it's really because most of us are trying to convince people that weren't made to build, weren't made to do anything, to do something. You know, because we've done it before. You know, you can look it up, the golden age of Africa, where we like the fact that I know in my history, and it's so sad, right? Like, but now it's kind of changing in South Africa, is that they taught me about the De Beers and who came after Mali. Like these people, they make it sound like the De Beers are the first people in Africa to mine gold. Africans have been mining gold for a long time. They just weren't maybe selling it and using it as a way to, you know, distribute as a way to enslave people. They weren't using it like that for most time. They were probably using it, yes, as a commodity of trade and stuff. But yeah, man, we Africans have done it before. So yeah.
I hear you. No, so that's interesting. I'm gonna come back to that later. KB, man, how's it going? Is it mic sound a bit better?
Yeah, is that better now?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, sorry for the disconnection. Peace to everybody. Yes, Jesse. Yes, a red pill. Yes to the chat. Yeah. So earlier, you why matters. There's 2 points I want to bring up. So why matters. You mentioned you know, when we do have businesses, it's usually small businesses, and then you brought up barbershops, which I was going to bring up. Now, it seems like we have an issue, and it can be fixed, I think, with an issue with organization and the concept of having a monopoly. Let me say what I mean, just even talking from the UK's point of view. The way most men cut their hair, especially in the last, let's say, definitely 20 years, is, let's say, a black, you know, quote unquote hairstyle, a fade, you know, even other races, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, I remember those guys, those even boys when we were younger that weren't black, but wanted a certain hairstyle. It used to be a thing to be known that, oh, I need to go to a black barber shop because they cut my hair properly. Now, what we should have done, because we were known, like, and there were certain, not everybody from outside our race hung around with us. So some of the boys they would see that was the same race as them hang around with us. They'll be like, oh, you got a black guy's type of haircut, type of thing, until it became popularized. How did we not have a monopoly on, let's say, you know, certain haircuts, right? Because other races now, and I don't know, it's just maybe where I live, have learned, watched, been taught, self-taught to cut their hair the same way. Now they've got a bunch of barbershops. And how did that happen? That's one of the things I saw progressively happen over the last 20 years. And I was like, right, like there's more of, and the design, and you know, it looks just like you would expect black barbers in there, but sometimes they're white, sometimes they're Asian, sometimes, and you know what? More power to them. It's not even an insult, because that's one of the things. Barbershops might be a small thing, but we had a monopoly on it.
But the thing is, you say small thing, but it's huge. Think about it. That's a whole demographic of people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's what I mean.
And you know, and then when certain celebs started to get fades, it's the fade thing, and it works. It looks so well on men's hair that you can use it with afro hair, and straight hair, depending on what you do with it. You had that whole, you had a very popular hairstyle amongst races that had straighter hair. It was like a comb over and a parting and a fade. It was like a couple of years ago. It was big wearing that, like white, Asian, anybody that had straighter hair. But essentially, so the black haircut, no monopoly. Or you can look at something like, and I know this is import and export and there's a bigger deal with it, but when you go shopping and you look at some of, say, fruits, right? For those that eat fruits, veg, sometimes when it's got the sticker or the box, look at the origin. Produce of Ghana, produce of this place, produce of that place. Again, how are we producing these actual things and not controlling the import and export of them? Do you know what I mean? Like, even when it comes down to food in this country, I don't know if it's still the case now, but I remember one period, the most popular opinionated food in at least England was Asian curries. Now, as much people who are not black, as well as, like black food as much as Asian food, if not more, again, something like food. How come we don't have a monopoly on that? Things like that. If you want to, like people, okay, it's starting to happen now. Like, oh, well, if you want, typical things like jerk chicken go to black people. But even then, people have taken, I shouldn't say taken, but there's been like jerk rice and there's all these, like, even the concept of something like jerk isn't like a sacred thing, exclusive black thing anymore. And the concept of a monopoly, organization, that seems to escape us. So as I say, I think it can be fixed, but we have to, maybe it's too late. I don't even know, because the second point. Anyway, right? Pardon?
We need to separate. I was just saying we need to separate. That's the only way. It's the only way.
Let me go on to my second point, because my second point is replying to something you said. Because you said about selective breeding, which I found very interesting, right? Because in the sense of the word, which most people think, and I think you're coming across with, I agree, we don't do selective breeding. But do you know what's funny is that we actually do selective breeding, but we do it a lot of times in terms of things like aesthetics.
I was going to say the exact same thing. I would say there is selective breeding, but it's just not in the way we want it. It's not in
something that's going to be really beneficial to I mean, do you know what? Looks do help. Let's be honest, with the benefit of a person, but I think we'd lead with that, or actually not even lead. We mainly go with that. Let's be honest. If we're gonna, yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up, because when you brought that up, I thought, you know what, you're correct, but at the same time, we actually do it, but in a different way, and sometimes maybe even subconsciously. I don't know, but
let me put this to you then, KB, because you're not really sort of. You've sort of answered, but you've not answered directly then. So all that thing that you just said there's 2 points you raised about how we seem to not be able to handle our business when it comes to our own, businesses that we should cater for ourselves. Is that a failure on us as black men? Where's the failure lie?
I think it definitely does. Yeah.
Okay.
I can admit, I think it definitely does, because it's also this. It's this crabs in the barrel mentality. Do you know what? Some people as well, when they get what we'd consider some sort of success, they separate themselves, which at the same time, I don't fully blame them. That's the problem. Because, bro, I think
Can I comment on that a little bit?
I'll be done in a sec. I've got a 10-year plan, and I'm in I've got 9.5 years left, bro. I'm off. I'm not joking. Like, I'm off. Seriously, me and my missus are like, we've got the plan and we're sticking to it. We're off, bro. Like, but at the same time, we've got this kind of thing. We want to take from each other type of thing. We've still got this envious streak. There's certain undertones that always underpin our success as well, which doesn't help. The thing is that even if we have someone publicly to represent us, that it's never the right person either. They're always too much one way or the other. So it's these micro things as well that keep stopping us too. But I don't think we think forward enough. I don't think we think about the big picture enough. I think we're very single-minded or not present-minded, shall we say. And the concept of having a monopoly on something, we should have a monopoly on at least one thing. There should be at least one thing everybody knows, okay, you've got to go to black people for, and this is how much you pay for it.
But because the problem is with that though as well. There may be not necessarily monopoly, but there are things where you go to black people for. It's just we don't do it well. when you talk about barbershops and our food places,
Mm.
we have things, but we just don't do it well enough. Do you know when I'm not gonna use white people here, Asian people. Do you know when it goes to Indian restaurants, you have like a 5-star restaurant, Chinese restaurant, you have a Michelin star restaurant, but also you have takeaway. So they have on every level a professional restaurant where other people work for them, but the food comes out nice, it comes out clean. You'll want to go there. You know, people take flipping Instagram photos just to go to these kind of places like Hakkasan and all these kind of other places. I'm like, where is our equivalent? I'm like, forget white people a second, because you're trying to compare. No. Other minority groups have seen the blueprint and they've been able to sort themselves out. I mean, it's not like Chinese people are more than we are in this country. They're not. So how have they been able to do this kind of stuff? Where's ours? That's what I think. It's like we don't have that ability to be able to see business and see money for what it is. It's in, at least where I am, at least. I don't know about you guys, how you guys see it.
I agree.
Okay,
But,
so
yeah,
so
go on.
Go on, Red.
okay,
What are you gonna say?
so I was gonna say I guess also it does depend on. Yeah, I see what you guys are saying, but there's the weird thing about South Africa, right? That yeah, you do have like a bunch of really highly educated black. Like one of the good things about South Africa, and like it's a weird thing to say, is that people are still separate. Like the effects of apartheid kind of still effect. So that's why you rarely see a lot of interbreeding. You rarely see like most. There are not a lot of mixed kids in South Africa. There are colors, obviously, who are generations of mixed kids, but there are not a lot of mixing that happens, right? And it's a weird, and I'm gonna explain why I say it kind of helps a little bit, because it does create a sense of, if I do get rich, I'm always gonna, like, rich black people rarely move into white neighborhoods. They'll probably try to build they'll probably have a house in maybe like a CBD or something, because they're close to work. But most of the time they'll move into a back home and build something back home. There's a video I wanted to not maybe watch, but I want you to see, of like a for black family, and they built this in next to a village, right? They built this beautiful luxury house. You probably feel like you're watching one of those American movies. Can I post it on the chat?
Later.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
No, I think that doesn't. No. Yeah, no. So no. For you personally to watch it, I don't want you to present it over here. But what I was gonna say is that if you look at that, you literally see these people build this luxury house at a predominantly obviously black area. Yeah, we were disadvantaged, but they're trying to build back home. Nobody wants to move into a Bura household. Like nobody wants to move next to a bunch of Afrikaners, right? It's this weird thing. Like I also feel like it also depends on the options you have, right? And also, like you guys said, yeah, you don't blame them for moving out, because maybe the black community does have a high level of crime. So, I mean, where you guys are, but I mean, no, who else? Where else are you gonna go? Like, in a way, because I don't think white people, when you move into their neighborhoods, are gonna accept you. So,
but on that note,
I also think
another thing this is another thing I think is a failure. I don't know. Well, let me pose the question, because we've always been fighting for inclusion. That's one of the things that we're known for. And has that been a failing strategy then? Because as I mentioned, when it comes to other minority groups, they've not assimilated. Like South Asians, they don't really assimilate. They're they're not really like that. So is that a failure? That's the reason why we don't have what they have, even comparatively.
I could add on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
The inclusion part, I think it is helpful to integrate into a country, right? I think that is important, right? But the thing is it was I would say it's our mindset earlier in the days. It's like we want acceptance from the people that were racially abusing us back in the past, right? How many years you want, right? But we were focused so much on, we had this mentality that they owed us something. Do you get what I'm saying? Where if you look at other communities, right? Specifically Asian, again, I'm gonna go there because I've experienced it, right? Being on the field. They didn't obviously they didn't like the racism, right? Obviously, right? But as soon as they touched ground, they had a plan. Like all everything you see where Asian communities have built up whatever they wanted to build up, right? It wasn't by accident. Like they were probably planning this before they even touched England, right? When we were coming from the Caribbean or Africa, we needed what we needed at the time was we needed a plan and basically build up what we needed to build up and basically keep our culture basically intact, because that's another thing. When, let's say, black people move from, say, a Caribbean culture to a more westernized culture, we have this kind of subculture, right? Where it's like black Western culture, where it's like the urbanization of the black man and the woman, right? And I don't know if it's the environment of it, and it just turned out negative, you know, with the gangster rap. And also another problem as well is, I say that when we also came here is were too we were trying to live as Americans in Britain. And let me explain what I mean by that. What I mean by that is, and we still do it to this day, where we compare the American struggle with the British struggle when they're not the same, right? A strong example of that is if you look at Black Lives Matter, when everything was popping off in Black Lives Matter, right? I was hearing really emotional cries about 150 black men were gunned down in the UK, and I'm like, where did he get that stat from? You know, so yeah, for real. Like you could literally Google it. It was in front of, I think it was New Scotland Yard, right? I remember it, and I was seeing it. It was like this black guy. He was getting all emotional, so on and so forth. And it's like that's another thing. We're just too emotional. We ain't really logic based. Like we need to just stop the emotion, figure out a plan. What is our problems? I already know what the problems are, right? And think what can, as a group, ethnicity, whatever, Africans, Caribbeans, whatever, what can we do when we're living here to just make things better? Because in the end of the day, we ain't getting no reparations, right? I don't know why people still marching for reparations. It's not happening. No one's gonna cripple their economic system for something that we kind of played a role in too. So that's just really that. Like we need to change. We need to, you know, get together because it ain't looking good right now. There's a lot of youths out there getting stabbed, and the thing what people don't seem to get is those youths that are getting killed are the future.
Let me put that. Are they though? You know, we talk about selective breeding, and
right.
This sometimes
No, I would say no, but the
okay.
thing is some of those youths that you seeing getting basically outed, some of them are actually good people. Some of them actually do have futures. It's happened, right? And it's a shame. Like for example, South African Red Pill said, right? When you know, when black people, you know, get really successful and they're doing really, really well, they move out, right? They move in a predominantly white area or so on and so forth, right? Which is true. Now, when we're in the black community, we got to deal with extra stuff, and it's not just other ethnic groups that has affected us. It's just our own selves affecting us. You understand? So that's just really that, because there's stories out there where, you know, a youth had a really good expired future, and he was doing really well for himself, and they go and kill him and stab him. Like things like that does happen.
No,
right?
I know. I do hear the stories of that, and I was going to be a bit more controversial with some of my viewpoints about. You know, when you see all these youth getting stabbed, not all of them, but a lot of them is all related to gang activity or some stupidness that get involved. And I'm thinking to myself, we talk about selective breeding. Sometimes I'm thinking, is that for the best? You know, at the end of the day, it's like, here's the thing. I know people can change, and I again, they don't want to cast dispersions on anyone. So please don't take it that way. But sometimes,
and I do think.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, I said the opposite in my own country. I was Cabe who said that the whole moving out. I said in my own country, it's kind of the opposite. And now that I really think about it, the reason that is because of mob justice. Like, and I see because you guys are so urbanized, you can't have all the things that SA has, right? You can't just kill somebody and they can't find the body. Like at the end of the criminal, you know what I mean? Like that, those
I
people
say
are
you.
gonna be arrested and all those things will happen. So also, I guess that I'm related to the whole why a lot of black people at home, there's less likely chance of getting robbed or anything compared to if you're in the city where the police and all it's more urbanized areas. There are laws that have to be followed as compared to back. So it's a lot. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm trying to say though. The
I
whole
understand what you're
sometimes I
saying.
do. I guess what I'm trying to say is yeah. I guess what I'm trying to say is and mob justice is what you guys need in order for you to really. I know it sounds messed up because people can lie and stuff, but I think that's what you guys do need at the UK in black communities, right?
So
Because
what
the thing is,
you're saying?
your policemen are white policemen.
All right.
Yeah,
So
like your own
what
community become your own police. Like that's the only way I see you guys could actually be out.
you mean, like, for example, just
And
snuff out the.
on basis of crime,
You mean like the snuff out this? Well, basically just.
the stabbing.
Right, so you basically mean like the snuff out, like the negativity of the community. That's basically what you're saying.
Yes. I mean, you guys were.
Right,
I was listening to you guys talking about there are a lot of stabbings that happen predominantly
right.
in black areas. You know what I
All
mean?
right, here's
And the fact
yeah,
that those people cannot be funded by your community. You know what I mean? And so
right.
that does play a part. Whereas in other, obviously not all African countries, but there is a level of mob justice that would happen if I try to kill white matters, right? They'll just need proof and say burn that guy down. I'm not saying it's fully that doing it the right thing, but that does reduce crime. It does put a level of fear on the criminal on
But
killing
here's the
me.
problem.
It does.
Here's the problem.
Whereas
Wait,
if I
wait, wait,
go
wait.
to a
Can I say something? Wait. Here's the problem with that. Is
yeah,
that may work for other communities, but here's the problem, right? With and I make this specific when it comes to the Black British culture, right? Criminality is embedded in Black Western culture, especially in the UK, right? So that type of thing is celebrated, right? It's in our music. So, you have your stereotypical, the roadman, so on and so forth, right? When you have those type of things being put up to the forefront, right? Then you've got the no snitching, you've got all of these things that comes into play. It ain't really that easy because of the
wait. You guys
image.
have no
Wait,
snitching.
yeah,
You
we
have no
do,
snitching.
right?
You have no snitching in the
Right.
UK.
So,
Why
right, we
though?
got
It's
an
a US
equivalent,
thing.
right? We got equivalent to that, right? Now, or they'll call someone a snake or something like that, right? Now, the thing is the problem with that is, yeah, that will probably work for any other community, right? And it does happen in other communities. But the problem is criminality is at the high. It's like it is the underbelly is basically coming to the surface, right? And it is celebrated. It is like it is seen as in a way a positive and a cool thing which is completely backwards. So it's very difficult to do that. Like the only time I've really seen that type of where, yeah, people need to snuff, like you need to get rid of this was when there was like pedophilia. Like I've seen where, you see it on social media where, like, if there's like a nonce or whatever they want to call it, right? The whole community will group up and basically get the police involved and all of that. But if it's anything else, I don't really see that same sort of energy. Do you know what I mean? Like, for example, you got a movement like Black Lives Matter. Well, yeah, all right, cool. When a Caucasian or a European or a non-black person attacks another, let's say, attacks a black person, everyone's out, everyone's rioting, everyone's out there, placards, the whole stuff. But when it's another black person stabbing another black person, it's absolutely crickets.
I mean,
You ain't,
yeah,
you ain't
I hear you. I will say this though. I will say this.
right.
I think every race has this. I don't know what it is, but every race has this double standards where to the other race it seems mad. For example, white people, if you was to get someone killing a dog, they would be out on the street hoping that person would die before before the judge arrange them. That's how white people are when it comes to other humans. They don't really care as much as if it's an animal. Whereas Asians, they more care about South Asians, like their religion. If you,
I don't think so.
So sometimes I think it's race specific. Some races have
I
an
mean,
issue. Certain
look
things
at
are
all
double
the serial killers.
So I don't know. Sometimes I hear what you're saying, but I think every race has this double standards. It's weird to me, but
Okay.
it is what it is. I think
I don't think white people have it on their own race. I think they're not even lenient on white people. Like, look at all the serial killers, but like they'll be preaching for that person to be hanged, and like I don't think they sympathize with white people that fuck up white community. I've never seen that.
No.
Like,
I'm not saying that they do. I'm not saying they do red pill.
Whereas in us we care, we do.
I'm just saying like what I'm saying is this: is hold on, one second. I'm just saying that they have double standards in where they go extra if it's something else, and this is what I mean when I say animals. So they'll go extra. They don't like killers like we don't like killers, but they go extra. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes it also does play around with news and what they present, because there are black people that do kill whites, but you know, such things will never make the news, and so now you never really see white people retaliating or something. So yeah, let's just also keep that in mind. That also news does play a big part. Like, oh my god, it's a white guy. Like there are black guys that actually. I remember. Okay, look, there's this chick, man. What's her name, man? Candace Owen, right? She was talking about those 3 black men. They killed this other white kid and something. Nobody said anything about it. Even this one white adopted girl, she got killed, and one of the fathers said it was revenge for slavery, right? That gets no amount of use. Like something like that actually happened. I never saw anyone get angry. Like that was messed up. Like this little girl was actually killed, and the adopted father said that. So you know.
Yeah, no worries. Fiona, welcome. How's it going? What are your thoughts on this whole topic?
Hi, good night, everyone. No, I agree with a lot of the thoughts so far. I won't be too long. I'll keep it brief. But what I was going to say is that I feel that yes, black men will remain conquered, and the reason being is that I think they would literally have to be forced by way of extreme segregation and by all of the amenities that have been provided for us being taken away before they actually sort of take any action. I think that to sort of build independently, it's just too much of a hard work and too much of a struggle. And I think it would have to be an extreme, like it was in the US, an extreme form of segregation to force them to build another sort of Black Wall Street or something like that without depending. So basically, taking away a dependency on other people. I think that's what it would take.
So you don't think we can do it through evolution? Because I don't know if anyone's really been following, but the Black Pound Day is something that's really been enforced, but last year it started. So with that, we're trying to obviously revitalize the Black Pound and the economy. Do you not think something like that, just more awareness and more, what's the word? Funding and things like that. Do you not think those kind of initiatives would be a starting place, or do you think it's just too far gone?
Well, that's the thing. It's all these sporadic things that are coming up here and there, but there's nothing solid. We don't really have any solid foundation to build anything on. And when we spoke earlier about the Asian culture, and I think it's really unfair to compare them to us. They're very sort of staunch in their culture, as you say. They're very sort of internal, and they don't really. Their main aim isn't to integrate with everyone. Their main aim isn't to, they're very family orientated, whereas a young Black boy is more likely to, regardless of whether you've got a single mother or not, if your single parent is telling you to do something, rather than taking their advice, a young Black boy will go and take the advice from his friends up the street. From the age of 13, 12, 13, our young Black boys are no longer being raised by their parents. They're being raised by their dusty little friends. So, all of these things contribute to our downfall. In the Asian community, there's a lot of respect for parents. And I mean, you do see the odd slight sort of hope here and there. I mean, the Nigerian community, their parents are working really hard, getting them a good education. And there are a lot, there are more and more that are doing really well. But then on the other side of that, like the conversation we had the other day, we then move to another community. You've got the other thing where us Black women are facing the Holy Trinity. So it's white women, white men, and Black men that have formed against us
Oh wow!
to form a holy trinity of attack.
Wow.
So these things, you don't really see it in other communities. Even with S.A. Red Pill, when he was speaking the other day, he is coming from a country where there's apartheid, only finished in the 90s. Yet he had the absolute gall to come up here and try to challenge me about Black women's attitudes and go on the side of white women. So yes, it's the holy trinity of attacks against us, and you would rather put all your efforts into that rather than putting it towards building a community.
Can I say something?
Wait, why did I say wait, what? I was asking you simple questions, man. You act like I was attacking you. I wasn't really attacking. I was just asking you simple questions.
SA, meet
Let me
Fiona.
be honest. I was with her before. Why it matters? You were talking about. So I'll shut up after this. You were talking about the comments I put just before you started the live stream. There was this. I think it was a lady. She was commenting on my country, talking about South Africa, apartheid, what. Here's a thing that a lot of people don't know about South Africa, especially Black South Africans. A lot of Black South Africans are living well, guys. Like they're living well. Like I'll probably even say they're probably doing better than most Black people around the world, right? And not in terms of like the fact that 98%, right, of obviously South Africans have electricity, including the villages and all that. Like a lot of Black people in South Africa, contrary to what news and what is showing you, are doing well, like really, really well. It's not like we're suffering or anything. Obviously, you're always gonna have like those poverty rate and stuff, but there are also poor white people too, So and I just feel like that's something I have to put out there, like because people always have this image of Black people are like enslaved and stuff. Black people have in South Africa. Let's say me. I'll give you a scenario. Let's say I was a kid born in Alexander, right? Yeah, one of the worst places to be born into. There is a chance I can actually become a medical doctor because let's say I stay in my hood and I make friends, which I do know a medical doctor from Alexander, by the way. I stay with my friends. I stay away from all the gang shit and all the peer pressure. Like there are people out there that stay away from all of the peer pressures, bro. Because we want to be better. There's some people that are like that. Maybe that's why I'm more optimistic than most people. There's some people that are like, no, and they'll come from the shittiest place ever. And then when they have to go to varsity, guess what? Because they're from a poor household, they can get free education. There are South Africans right now that can actually get education in Cuba that they get free bursaries because they come from a poor household to go study in other countries and it's paid for by the government. So yeah, there's that part.
No, hey, what I want to do this to be a separate live stream. I probably want to pick up with USA Red Pill about South Africa because I've got questions on that. So that'll be another live stream. Sorry, Jesse, you wanted to say something. I was going to get back to what Fiona was saying.
Yeah, it was basically what Fiona was saying. She made some valid points, right? First off, I just have to be honest, right? I'm not gonna say all, but I do see Black men in the UK going at Black women, right? And I see vice versa, right? Where it's like Black men and Black women are basically just passing the buck, right? It's like no one can seem to own anything, right? Can't seem to take ownership and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, that's right. And probably, yeah, we do need to do better on this and like negotiate, figure out what needs to change, because the thing is this is what I take in regards of the relationship between the Black woman and the Black man, right? And this stems into the failure, right? Is I just think that because we were brought up in, well, not all, but many of us weren't brought in brought up in the best circumstances, right? I mean, a strong family unit, something like a foundation, as she just basically said, right? The foundation to basically build upon, which I agree, right? I don't feel the foundation is strong enough, right? And I think the reason why we have this problem is that we don't see healthy relationships much, right? We don't really see healthy relationships. We don't see what is a healthy relationship, right? And there was a time where I used to do, like, I was on YouTube, right? I was with like this YouTuber, right? He's a black bodybuilder, right? I think he was Nigerian or something like that, right? And I remember going up to him and I said, "Bro, this is one of the first times I've actually seen a positive black family." And I'm just being brutally honest, because whenever I look around, I don't really see many strong families, right? It's either the father's not in the home, or the father is ill, or the father is dead, or the mother has moved here. It's just, it's not good, it's not healthy, and that also affects the next generation coming up, because let's be real, who are the people that we ask for in regards of who do I pick as my next wife, who do I pick as the next father of my children, is the parents, you know? And again, what Fiona said regarding, let's say, how the youth is being raised, not being raised from the parents, is 100%. The way I know this is true is because I'm a youth worker. I've worked not just with black kids, but all kids of all backgrounds.
I hear you,
Right?
but the other thing I was going to say to that is that would affect not only black men but black women as well, won't it? It won't just be one
100%.
thing. And Fiona was talking about black men as being almost on par with white men and white women. I'm like, whoa. So let me just say this, Fiona. Let me pose it to you, right? Because I know you want to say something. Would you rather then, because I've heard this, would you rather be under white supremacy, quote unquote, like segregation, apartheid, as opposed to under, let's say, black leadership? Is that how you feel it's so bad?
Yeah, I think that black men want us to be the permanent underclass. They want to separate themselves from us. And another point that I wanted to make to what Jesse was saying is that in terms of marriage, I mean, I'm not quite sure. We've been fighting this for years, how much more black women can do in regards to that topic. You know, if we go back to the Asian community, there's things that they practice that black men would never agree to. You'd never agree to a arranged marriage at a young age, never ever, because you want to be the eternal Peter Pan. You want to be the eternal, this machismo, you know, how many women can I get? So, you know, how on earth are we going to establish something similar to them? Our culture, and this is what I was talking about on the last live, our culture and our beliefs are completely different. And I think that in terms of culture, black men and black women are operating on two different levels, and have two different ideas. I think we're more in line with what everyone else wants to do. But I think that black men are more in line with doing what they want to do. And that's a huge problem.
See, just push back on that, because I see a lot of women, not just black women, but white women, have this ideology. I think both sexes want what they want, how they want it, when they want it. And this is a disconnect. No one wants to compromise. I think that's the word now in society, where it's just like, hold on a second. This isn't a case of, oh, men want to do this and it's so different to women. I think it's a case of both parties want their cake and eat it too, and they don't want to compromise, which is why it's not just in the black community. Everyone else seems to have a problem, because women want to be able to do what they want to do, and you can't tell me nothing. I can do this. Men want to be able to do it. You can't tell me nothing. You have to act like this. I think it's a case of both of us don't want to compromise. That word's not been used in this equation. Or
No.
one party thinks, oh, I've always compromised. I do this. Oh, but I compromise.
The thing is, we're coming from a completely different standpoint to other women. We've never been this submissive. We've never been allowed to be in this submissive type of feminine position. We've always been your equal, even on the plantation. Even if our wombs were dropping down with a baby, we still have to be out there beside you, working side by side. So there's never been this whole leadership dynamic that you speak of. So I think it's going to be very difficult for us, and say, for example, white women who are coming from a completely different position and perspective. We've always been equal. We've never been treated differently, and we've never been considered as differently.
No, that's a lie.
Even now.
mean, so Black history starts with slavery. Like, I mean, are you guys listening to this lady? Like, so for eons, black men and black men have always been equals. That's what you believe. For we've always been like this. No. Listen, to be honest,
Yeah, we've always
Africa
operated as
was way more
equal.
productive.
It's always been 50-50.
It's
It's never
never
been
been
one.
equal in Africa. In Africa, you know how you know, like most Africans never had one wife in the past. Like never. You would rarely see an African with one wife. You rarely see that, right? More, in fact, we were the stereotype about it. The fact that Africans have all this wife, they can't choose one. They always have to be impregnating multiple women. Come on, you can't. That's all I'm just saying. Like, keep that in mind, Fiona, when you start. Our history
jump
does
in
not
here?
start with slavery. And
Can I?
maybe,
Hold on.
maybe,
Can I jump in here?
maybe everyone here in the panel.
Yeah, Red Pill, let KB talk, man. Yeah, KB, go ahead.
Yeah. 1 minute. Sorry, bro. Hi, Fiona. Let me ask you a question. Honestly, how you doing? You okay?
Yeah. Hi, KP.
Yeah. Please don't give me that voice. I ain't gonna attack you. It's fine. Look. Okay. Two things I want to say. You see this Holy Trinity thing? You know what? Everyone's laughing, but you know what? I'm reading between the lines. Are you trying to say that?
You're Jesus.
Nah. Well, I was gonna say the father, mother, and the son. So is the are black men the son? I'm just asking. Is that what you're trying to say subliminally as well?
No, I just think it's a
No.
sense of coming together as one to be a force against black women. That's from what I can see.
Okay. I just wanted to see if I was reading between the lines. I was thinking the mother, the father, the mother, and the son. So anyway, we'll go past that. Okay, so just on the point you was making a minute ago, right, about the fact with black women, you've always had to have like an equal partnership. There's never been like a sort of leadership dynamic in the relationships. Am I understanding that correctly, right? Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Now, I kind of see where you're coming from. However, right, answer this honestly. It's just kind of a two-part question. Number one, have black women, and let's talk like millennial age, or let's say the last 50 years, has there been this deep desire amongst black women, number one, to be wives, not just married, but wives? And number two, in terms of, even if not that, you see that leadership dynamic, that also includes giving up control. Do you honestly, on this question, and if it's a yes, fine, do you believe that black women really have that, dare I say, trust in us to give up that control? Because if you don't trust us enough to give us that control, then kind of complaining that we don't take the lead at the same time is counterproductive, because so do you think black women, even, okay, let's say black men started to get together en masse and actually start to attain some power, and like, you know what, women, let's go this way, are women going to really give up 100% power and say lead? On this question, the average black woman.
Oh no, sorry, Fiona's just had to step away. So yeah, when she comes back, she can answer that question. But you know what? That's a very valid question you put there, KB. Because here's one thing which I was thinking, going back to movements, and as to the reason why I see a lot of black women at the front of these movements. I see it all the time, and I think to myself, do you know what it is? I do agree with that sentiment, KB. I think the average black woman doesn't actually really want, when it comes to submission in our communities, it's always been different. At least when I grew up, black women were never this quote unquote meek and mild white woman submissive. They're always kind of maybe not 50-50, but they had a huge influence in the family. And I think when it comes to what you're saying, it all depends on where you see leadership as black people, because black women have always been, oh, I'm going to be here, I'm going to be in the front. You can't tell black women, just sit down and relax, let us take care of it. No. They want to be there. So yeah, I do think there's an element of that where a part of the culture, black women, at least again, how I understand it and how I was raised in the families I'm a part of, there never will be that situation where I've seen black women just completely say, you know what, you take it, and I'm just going to shut up and stay in my corner somewhere. No, I don't see it like that. I don't.
Me either. Like, and is it partly our fault that they can't trust us, like, or they feel like that? Possibly, but at the same time, there's got to be a point where you've got to be like, okay, you take the reins. I don't think black women trust us like that. I barely feel like our own mothers trust us like that.
But I
At
think again,
times.
I just think it's part of, and this is where culturistic we may just be different. I don't think
I
anyone's
think
like
it's
that.
westernized. No, I
Really?
think that's more you guys because you're westernized and stuff. I think it's more you. Like it's. I think it's more like a US, UK thing
No,
where
because
you see
even
a lot
even
of
like
women want to
even
mimic
Caribbean,
what
even
they
like
do.
Caribbean women, I'll say this, I say red pill, even like from a Caribbean standpoint, women, we call them feisty. They're like feisty. You know what I mean? They're like, you know, rude and rank, up in your face. That's so obviously they're still in the West, but even from my standpoint, maybe I don't know, maybe because it's just a whole there's slight difference here. But even
Yeah, yeah.
from that side of things, I see
The
it.
Caribbean is closer to the UK, right? You're closer to the UK. I'm
Well,
just saying, like, I mean, you're kind of same. Like, let's be honest, the UK culture is kind of really transferred to you guys. Like, you're really close to it, right? You really are close to it compared to other African. Because I rarely see this in. Because I obviously I will travel to other African countries. I rarely see this in. I mean, obviously, yeah, they're not like the playful submissive. Hey, my lord. They don't. Even myself, right? Let me speak of my family. My mom, my dad is very masculine. Like I've never, obviously though we have like some small fights, but for most time it's almost like she's really submissive. Like she's really submissive, and there are multiple families like that where she likes let my father lead. She even on context she calls him the head of the house, right? So I think also it depends. It's not like black women. The thing is, a lot of people base black history on slavery. I don't know why, but we have this thing where we attach ourselves so much to this slavery thing. Like, oh, like what Fiona was saying, like we've always been like this. You understand that this woman literally just said always, like our entire history is slavery. That is that is what she's fixed and put in her mind. That
I will
this is
say this
your
though, red
her
pill.
value is that her and her husband.
I will say this on that, and the reason why I
Sorry,
understand why they say it is not that because we understand that Black history just starts at slavery, but maybe it's because we can only trace our line back to a certain extent, whereas maybe because you're in South Africa, you can go way back, way back, way back, way back, and you have that sort of culture passed down and passed down and passed down. Obviously, you had colonialism, but you still was able to sometimes retain a lot of your culture, whereas for us, we started a whole brand new culture. So what we've had to do is a whole brand new subset of black folk were created off the back of it. That's just why there's a slight difference here. It's not the fact that we're saying it starts here, but for us, there's no West Indian if it didn't start with slavery. There's no Caribbean without, you know what I mean? It don't make no sense because we've completely branched out. We've retained some things, but we've had a completely new lease of life, if you like. That's probably why. If that makes
So
sense.
you see yourself as a new breed of that. What are you? Look, I'm gonna be a little bit ignorant here. So you say you're from the Caribbean, right? Why it matters?
Yeah, so got history in Caribbean, yeah.
Why it matters? Oh, no. Oh, so
I think you're lagging. I think you're lagging. I think your stream is
yeah,
lagging.
I'm gonna be a little bit. When I hear Caribbean, I'm thinking, oh, oh. So when I hear Caribbean, I know I'm being a little bit ignorant. I'm just thinking Jamaica. So can I make that as an
No,
example?
don't do that.
Or
Don't do
what I'm
that.
trying to
Don't do
say?
that. Don't do
I'm
that.
just
Don't do
presuming
that.
you're Jamaican, right?
Don't do it. Don't do that.
Okay,
You saying that?
no. What I wanted to do, make it an example, is that so you see yourself as the new breed of the. It's like okay, let me make an example for Nigerian. You see yourself, let's say you are Nigerian, as a new breed of Nigerians, right?
Well, it would have to be. The reason why I say that is
Because
because
that happened to you. Is that what you're telling me? Even though
but
you do have history,
if you understand the
you
history
see
of
yourself as
slavery,
another tribe of that.
but we are. That's what I mean. That's what we would become a new tribe because we don't retain the African language or the traditions. We would some things have been transported over, but we wouldn't know anything about that. So I would have to do a some sort of DNA test to find out exactly what tribe I'd be from. Whereas you guys will be able to say, I'm from this tribe, I'm from that tribe, I'm from this tribe. And for the most part, you can retain some of that. Whereas we don't retain any of that stuff unless we do some DNA testing. And even that, I'm like, how accurate is that? I don't know.
But yeah, I feel what you're saying. But then again, doesn't it also make you guys think like, I mean, clearly the world has never been like that. Like the world can never run with two heads. Like someone has to be the tail, right? And for most part, women obviously they'll say that, but they don't. They go like, I don't know if there was someone here was talking about like how are you gonna I think it was KB, right? Like how are you gonna complain about how black men don't lead, but when they lead, you say no, do it my way. And I feel like that was a perfect example, right?
Well,
So don't you feel like, yes, you are a new, obviously you're a new tribe. Now, what I was gonna say is that even though you are a new tribe, there's certain characteristics maybe you can learn from other African traditional things, right? Because you are black, obviously. There's just certain things I feel like the world is a certain way for a reason, right? Like there's a reason why there is no civilization that was run by women that is everlasting. There's a reason for that, right? So this debate they're trying to have with you, it's so useless to a point that it's always gonna have it's always gonna just destroy the community in a way.
so
So yeah.
so to answer that, I hear what you're saying, and to answer that it's about trust factor. So if a woman trusts you, then she will let you lead. The issue is trust. So the trust has been eroded over the years. So again, from here we look at the communities, how it is, whether it be the crime, whether it be the businesses, economics, health. So what it is if a woman doesn't trust you, that's why you have this battle when it comes to leadership. Now, again, we could argue about whether it was truly submissive or whatnot, but in general, the issue is trust. So because that's been eroded by historical terms, and even now, again, when we're talking about colonialism, white supremacy, all of that, it erodes women's trust in our ability to be able to lead, to lead the family, lead the community. It's all about trust. And if you don't have that, then even in like a business, people aren't gonna want to actually lead it. They're gonna want to actually take over. Jesse, someone to say something.
Yeah, like here's the thing, right? I'm a solution based dude, right? And it's all great, we're like I said, not all, but many of us, many black men, yeah. So in some cases, yeah, we're failures. But what we really need to look at is from the next generation coming up, right? What is it that we need to do to become better men? That's the real question. Sorry, that's my alarm going off, right? But what we need to do, I'm just gonna turn it off. But basically what we need to do is just figure out, yeah, there we go. Yeah, what we need to do is just figure out what can we do to become better men. And because again, it's the father's not being in the home to teach us about being men, right? Or what it takes to be a man. Or the other thing as well is, if we want a better community, right, it starts with the men and the women, right? It's both, right? So when KB was saying about, in some cases that, why is it that we can't take control, we can't take the lead? Well, maybe it's just that some of us just need to be better men. I'm not saying that there isn't black men out there who are good, good black males, who are masculine, right? But some of us needs to, become better men, because how we will like it or not, like men are in most cases are the leaders, right? All you gotta do is look over the world, all over the world. Majority of the leaders of the world are men, right? And that's how it's been going on since history, right? So we need to look at what it is, right? We got to really ask ourselves, is as black men, where are we going wrong and what do we need to improve on, right? And then maybe some black women will say, hey, you know what? This is someone I can trust because he's displayed those qualities and said, you know what? This is someone that I may want to build a family with. Because
You know the problem.
in
You know the problem with that.
Okay, so here's my comment on that part.
One sec, Red Pill.
Oh.
I agree with what you're saying, Jesse, but there's a problem with that. And this is what's middle of the waters is a lot of black guys are tapping out from black women because, and this is another thing, the boys, all black men now, because there's a viewpoint now where we have to over prove ourselves in order to prove that we're worthy. And then is it worth it when other races of women, whether we like it or not, they like us at the moment? We don't have to prove ourselves in the manner. So what's happening now, as you can see with the the IR rates. There's
Yeah.
come to a head now where the genie's out of the bottle now, isn't it? So in order to get that back, now a lot of guys are like, what's the point? You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times I think that's also a little bit of issue.
I get that 100%. So my counter argument to that is, if we're not doing it for black women, why don't we just do it for ourselves in general?
I think we are. Well, here's what I think. It's a case of why should we have to prove ourselves like that when it's like, well, I hand them out. And this is why I say the best of us seem to always day out. It's like they're the ones who they're like, screw this. I don't have to be a FTSE 100 ownership to prove that I'm a flipping leader. I'm cool like this. I make my money. I'm just gonna go, and I've got this woman here who respects me and likes me for what it is. So yeah, it's all about.
You actually said what I was thinking, guys.
I heard
that. What I'm saying is, I was gonna say that, a white man is exactly said what I was actually thinking. Like the fact that what I've noticed with women, especially on your side, because you don't have as many options on black women compared to me, obviously. So even though you do lead and stuff, she'll probably still wanna, lead you, right? Because obviously she's been indoctrinated with that Western feminist ideals, right? So, and I like what Mr. Jesse said, right? That we should do it for us men. So maybe this is another conclusion I want you guys to think about. Are you guys comfortable creating a new communities with non-black women? I mean, if those women are willing to submit to you and build with you, at least you will have something already compared to those that are actually not building anything. They're not going to be cooperative. And maybe, right, maybe by doing that, you would force them to actually start some. I mean, look, women adapt. I don't think women really change, to be honest. I don't think women really change. I think women adapt to the situation that be, right? And have you guys ever really thought about that? That maybe creating this group, but they're not really looking into the guy, if the guy is with a black or non-black woman. Have you guys ever thought about that? Like basically creating your own ADOS. I mean, you know what I mean by that.
I get what you mean. In the end of the day, like, we only live one life, right? So make the best out of it, right? If we can make, if we could have a strong family unit, regardless of whatever ethnicity or culture they come from, that makes sense.
The thing is, we're doing that right now anyway.
We are doing that.
We're doing that already. Again, I know, if you ever get a chance to travel and come over here, you'll see for yourself just how we're almost what's the word? You could say genocide by interracial dating. It seems I know families where the shade have gotten lighter. I'm like, yo, you're just white now. We used to call them quarter caste back in the day. Until now, it's like I see their kids like, oh snap. So it is kind of happening now anyway. Red pill. But I will see that more.
So it's a community. So are you guys having a community of
not
a
community? Not a community, but it's a case.
So that's what I'm saying, though. So I'm relating to the fact that you create a community within those kids. You make sure those kids can breed with each other. I don't know. It's almost like I'm forcing people to be together. But I think that's one of the best ways you can push this thing, right? Instead of being fully wiped out as a race, but at least have your gene pool circulating somewhere, instead of it becoming white, like the whole, they make that example of Drake, like it was first his dad, and then came him as a biracial, and then you see his son, and then, after that, they said that the kid after that is going to look like, what's the one from the UK, Archer. Is gonna look like
all right,
they keep breeding with white. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. So I think the best way y'all can do it, because we see that it's been done in my home country, though. Where it makes people breed it together and created a generation. So at least somewhere your bloodline wolves still exist. Because I didn't really want to open this topic. Yesterday we were talking about foundation. Remember that series? White Matters.
Yeah, I do. One thing I say, I just want to go back to Fiona because I think she's back now. Because I know KB asked the question to Fiona. Do you want to repeat it at all?
Yeah. Fiona, you here? Yeah.
Hi. Yes, I am back. Sorry about that.
No, it's cool. What did I say earlier? Okay, yeah. So earlier on you was talking about.
I did hear the question,
Oh, you did
the end
hear
of
it?
it.
Yeah, go.
I
Yeah.
did, yeah. I think, according to my West African sisters, I can't come and kill myself. You've probably seen that meme that's going around saying, "This is my man and I'm sticking beside him." And I think that's more or less been the mantra of Black women throughout. And we have more or less allowed you to lead. And basically, you see the position that we're in now. So I think if you were doing the things in the correct manner and in the correct way that others were, because if you keep doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result, then obviously there's an issue. So I think if you, as White Matter says, if you were to prove that you were able to do things and do it successfully, then I think we would step back and allow you to lead. Yeah. Don't think there
Oh,
would be a
okay.
problem issue with that.
All right. Let me ask you this as well then. Yeah. So let's say there was a particular black man that took the helm and led, but his partner wasn't a black woman. Would you still?
Well, this is the thing. I think that we're constantly pushing. It's like, can you please take care of your kids? Can you please do this? It's like you're begging. And I think that black men who do particularly well for themselves, as White Matters, and I think someone else says, they do go to other communities because they can't find. For one, for other men basically to show them what a good example of leadership is, because I don't think they can see that around them and within their own community. And I think that's part of the issue as well, that they're going outside of their community to find examples of men that are leading, and that's nothing to do with black women. And I think that's another reason why other communities look more appeasing. So in answer to your question, I think, yeah, I just think that we're constantly trying to get you to do the right thing, and I think there are certain people within our community who have more of a bigger influence than we do, and that's an issue. And I think that if and I understand what you're trying to say. It's like when people say, "Oh, when Obama was in presidency, Michelle tended to take over, and she was the most vocal first lady that they'd ever come across." So I do get what you're trying to say in that, we don't allow you to shine. But I think there's also been lots of examples of when we've tried to let you lead, and we're being led up a dark alley, basically. And so we've had to take back the lead.
So you're comfortable saying that? So you think if you're gonna be led by a black person, there's a chance you're gonna be led to a dark alley. So you think white men don't
No,
let
not a
don't lead?
person, a man, not a person. Yeah.
No. Y'all are submissive as hell to white men. We've all noticed. There's no white. If
Well,
a black woman
to
is
be
just a white man,
to be fair, we've had this conversation before. Both sides adjust their personalities when they date out of their race. We've established that. Women do it and men do it. We have to, because their culture's different. You can't speak to them like how you speak to us. No way.
I don't know. Can you guys confirm that? Like change as in, I don't know. I mean, I do know some guys that do date out, but they never.
I could add
really
on that.
change.
I could add on that. I've dated out a lot, right? On my previous stream, I explained why that is the case. But yeah, sometimes you do have to change. You do have to change certain aspects of even how you basically portray yourself or how you talk, because there's certain things like certain people wouldn't understand, like when like we talk. So yeah, in certain cases, yeah, Fiona is correct. Like when we do date out, we do tend to change the way we portray ourselves or how we communicate, and it's not just stems from romantic relationships, but also to sometimes platonic relationships. Sometimes
Yeah. So
where, for example, I'll give you an example, right? I have white friends, I have black friends, I have a small group of Asian friends, right? With my black friends, I don't mind speaking in, like, for example, the slang or the ebonic sometimes, or the usual London slang, right? But then there's some, let's say, white guys, right, that I know who are still from here, where they still don't understand half of the stuff I'm saying. And then when I have like my white friends, they're actually fascinated by some of the stuff we talk about that actually happen in the black community. So yeah, sometimes we do have to change the way we portray ourselves. She ain't lying.
No, I
Yeah.
don't disagree, but I just find it interesting how suddenly it's black people change. But if it was a like if it was brought up about black men, it would be black men change for white people. But now it's black people once, let's say Red Pill mentioned that black women do change for white men, or from what he's noticed at least.
Yeah, and also I'm glad a guy like me from Africa is here also. Man, I don't know. Do you think? Let's just say you did it out, TBC. Do you actually think you would change who you are? I don't know. Personally, I think it also depends on where the person grew up. Because I think most African, and I'll
Hmm.
be done. Most Africans, they do data. I don't see them. I don't think Jessica X's father really changed who he is. Like, if he's Nigerian, I don't think he started talking a different way. I think it was like there's a lot of pride with Africans, even when they date out.
Hmm.
Like if that woman is with him, she's gonna be with him for who he is. So I don't know. Maybe it also depends on where you are. But I just don't see
For
myself if I do date
well,
out. I'm gonna change. You know.
from what I've seen, it
Yeah, you
depends on the individual, right? So I knew a guy, and his spouse is she's white, but I mean, he's the same Nigerian that he was before. So I think it depends on the man himself. This whole narrative that the women hold the culture, I don't really believe that because from what I've seen at least for Africans, if a man is African and his wife is not African, the culture is still being preserved. Like he's not changing himself. He
On that,
might adapt
TBC,
to society.
let me ask you on that because I just caught the tail end of that. I was gonna say that because I have of the opinion that women hold the culture because if normally a man's out to work and the woman, especially Africans, I know African households, the women take care of the kids. So if it's a non-African woman, then she wouldn't be necessarily speaking the same language, would they? In terms of maybe your mother tongue, she wouldn't be necessarily. I don't know. Would she be cooking the same foods that you normally be accustomed to, unless you go to like cousin's house? So I always see the women as the culture bearers because the women, again, they breastfeed, so they have to have the kids. They normally speak to the kids first, so they'll pick up the mother tongue. It's always your mother tongue. It's never your father tongue. It's your mother tongue. So I always thought the cultures, some of them as key things, culture is the woman who passes it on. I could be wrong.
Well, it's a bit of a tricky situation because I would say like what you're saying makes sense. However, in other aspects like cultural, what's a good example I can use? Like the father does also pass some cultural values towards the children.
Oh no, no,
Um,
no. That I have no doubt.
Like Jessica said herself, like her dad was used to imprint a lot of like Nigerian values in her. So yeah, I get what TBC is saying. Like personally, I
mhm.
think the whole culture thing also does depend on a person. Like especially when you're African, you're gonna instill those things on your kids, man. You
I
are.
think
That is
I
what it
think that
is.
I think that communities, British-born children from African parents, tend to lose a bit of the culture
I
anyway.
see that too.
Most of them don't speak the mother tongue, regardless of whether they've got two black African parents or not, unless they've been sent back there for a time in order to sort of learn the language and things like that. That tends to drop off anyway. So then, if you're going to date someone who's non-black, I can't see the culture withholding. No, and if they do cook for you, they're going to cook you some jollof rice that looks like soup because I've seen that on social media as well.
Well, that's a good point from both of you, and I'm not disagreeing completely. But
I mean,
from
again,
my personal experience, now this is purely anecdotal, like it's just purely my experience. But I did know a few people who were biracial, and they kept the culture very well. Like they could speak Yoruba or Igbo or Edo or Hausa, or whatever it was. So
okay. No,
it
no, no,
it,
no.
it it's it varies. I wish there was a way to collectively find out the percentage or whatnot, but that's what I see.
No, no, no. I mean, again, I don't disagree. I definitely know more than I would. It's just when I see again, it could be just a westernized thing, but when I see a lot of them, and again, even two African or two black households, the culture does seem to just dwindle down, and it could be because they're just in a different place. But if you're in a predominantly like African country, then you're gonna have to keep that African culture. Just you're around it. So I don't know. Maybe it's just the environment that you're in and how you raise them. But for sure, when it comes to non-African or non-black partners, there's a huge part of culture I see missing.
Of course, but also just one last comment. It could also be the image they put out. So, for example, like some families would act different, like the parents try to hide their accent outside the house, and then in the house they're completely normal. Even I do that at times. Like even when I go on YouTube, I try to reduce my. I don't know. It's like an automatic thing you do. So after living in the West for a while, so I think it's also some aspect of that as well. So like when they're outside the house, they try to assimilate into I don't know UK culture or American culture or whatever culture they're in, Australian or whatever. But in the house, they keep their values.
No, that is fair.
Yeah,
And to be
yeah,
fair,
yeah.
you're right. That could be a big point. People do, adapt to the environment. So when they're back home, it's like, oh, a complete different person than I would think they are. So no, that's a valid point. That's a valid point. I was gonna
I agree with BBC.
ask Fiona this question. I don't know whether this was asked beforehand, but in your mind, then, and I suppose obviously you can only speak for yourself, not the mind of other black women. But what do black men have to do in order to shake off this tag of being conquered? Is there anything? Again, this would be your subjectivity, but what is the line that has to be drawn? Where's the standard that you hold to say, okay, now we can trust you guys to be that man that we think you? Well, let's say that that's innate in us. What's your standard?
Well, I think we have to start with in-house, and we have to clean up home first. So I think things like following traditional values, committing to somebody, even if you break up, because obviously this is real life, even if you're not together with someone, being active in your children's lives and actually staying around and raising them, and just exhibiting normal behavior. Not acting like someone's opened the door to a mental asylum and said everybody out, just doing normal things. We should be able to have communities where we don't want to run and have and take flight. It should be safe. We shouldn't want to go into other people's communities to feel safe. It should just be a normal, healthy environment. So I think the internal work inside the community, stop listening to people who have, especially a lot of young black men tend to listen to the older ones. And you've seen historically, I think you should follow your own path in life. And this whole player mentality, and even when the other gentleman was saying about, in Africa having many, many wives, I mean, black countries, we live in some of the poorest countries, and this whole polygamous thing, I mean, where is it getting us? I'm sorry, I just don't see the benefit to it. I just don't understand.
That's me,
because
We don't.
TBC, if you're wondering. You're talking about me.
oh, okay. Well, yeah. Anyways,
You see the benefit to it. What is it? Because you've got loads of land that you need worked or something. What's the benefit to having different children, 10, 12, 15
But that
children
wasn't
with
my
different
point,
people?
though.
well,
That
listen.
wasn't my point.
See, if you have so it's beneficial for wealthy men. That's what I believe. If you're at a certain level of wealth, you can acquire that. That way, you can teach your offspring to also value wealth, and also you can split the wealth
It's not
between
just
them.
about wealth. It's raising healthy people. These people have got psychological problems. If you look every evening on the news,
Those
if you
are
look at the
Western
news,
issues, man.
they're not
Those are
acting
Western
like
issues.
the normal
When you're
people.
from Africa,
No, it's
ma'am.
not.
But
It's
see,
not a
look,
Western issue.
I
It's not a
believe
Western
that
issue.
the
Why are
Why
all
do you
black
think
countries some of the
Westerners
poorest
commit more
countries in the
suicide than
world?
Africans? Why do you think
You
more
know,
Westerners commit more suicide than Africans? Why do you think that? If we're so suffering and stuff, why is it that you guys are quick to pull the trigger, yet Africans are not? Why do you
it's
think
not
that
just.
is?
It's hold on a second. It's not just Africans. Caribbean countries are third world countries too. So let's cut it out about this whole African and you versus us. It's as a collective,
Westernized
we're some of the
countries. Let's talk.
poorest countries in the world. Okay, and you're saying that
Look,
black women have an attitude and that we're not happy. No, we're not happy because we're not in an environment to be happy, and I can see why we're not happy, because we're suffering. but yet you want to carry on with the same behavior.
My response to that, we could do this, right? My response is this. I think the single mother epidemic is more psychologically damaging towards the community than anything than a man having multiple wives. As long as the man is a wealthy man and rich, or he can provide for those children, at least
You can't provide them, can you?
at least
Most of them
financially,
can't
right?
provide.
At
Most of
least,
them can't do it. You can't do it
but
though, can you?
I specified for wealthy men who have their things together, then it's beneficial. I
And
didn't
how
say just
okay,
average man
okay.
having like 10 wives.
I heard you on another panel saying how you know, you don't think that your mother particularly loves you, but you think that you know, she's only tolerates you because you're her son. Now your kind of thinking and behavior is going
Oh,
to
no. Wait. I was just trolling in that panel. I wasn't serious. I was being serious.
all right. Well, I
Because
took it to mean that well, the point I was going to make is that kind of thing that you've said is actually how certain people do think. And you know, by having different children by different people, it's not just about money, it's the quality and the time that you spend with these people. It's actually making them think that you care about them. And I don't think that that's adequate. It's like the Nick Cannon situation. I mean, how much quality time is he going to get to spend with children that are all over the country that are close in age? I mean, it's impossible. How can you
Fiona, I think maybe you have different ideas of what I was referring to. I was more so referring to a man who might live in a compound, he might have 4 or 5 wives, or they live in the same house. Like it's not like they're just split into different countries or continents and stuff like that. They live in the same area. They live together. It's a fact, like as a large family together. Because
see that in itself creates problems? That in itself creates problems. There's
Like what?
infighting. There's whose child is entitled to what. Whose child is, you know, who's the firstborn. There's lots of infighting that comes out of that.
Of course, I mean,
You're not being
you're going to have
honest.
problems like that. Regardless. You're always going to have
It
problems
doesn't
like
work.
that.
It
Can I say
doesn't work.
something?
We've tried this. It's not working.
Can I say
We've
something?
tried this.
Can I say something?
Yeah, Jesse, go ahead.
Right. I have to agree with Fiona on this one. Regarding polygyny, right? Polygyny works if the man is wealthy with the children, right? All you've got to do is just look at what happens when the man, or let's say I won't say the man, right? The parent that earns the most, right, in a family, right? In most cases, in some cases, that is the man, right? In most cases, that is the man. Now, the very reason why the black community, one of the reasons, not the reason, right, that the black community is in the state it is now in the UK is because of poverty, right? One of the big factors. All you gotta do is look at Tottenham. Tottenham is one of the most. I know this is a fact. This is one of the most impoverished, let's say, cities in London, right? Facts. Look it up, right? And there's a lot of crime there, and and you know, a lot of knife crime going on there, so on and so forth, right? To say that, look, polygyny works, yes, it would work if the man was wealthy, right? He had a lot of money, yes, but let's be real, in the UK where we are, right, not a lot of black men are balling like that to be having a whole bunch of kids, right? And do this polygyny system. It's not, it can't work in a Western society, especially the state that the black community is in this UK. It can't work. Now,
of course.
right.
I agree with everything you just said so far. I wasn't referring to polygamy for the average man. I was specifically speaking about wealthy men who can actually afford and provide for those children. Like, I think we're mistaking what I'm saying for just the average black man having, I don't know, 5 wives, something like that. No, I'm just referring to a select percentage, what do you call it? Select class at a financial level.
But we don't have that.
And since this topic was open because of me, look, one of the main reasons this was said is because Fiona asked me, she was talking about, because TBC, I just want to update TBC and Unstoppable. Fiona was talking about how black men and black women have always been equal, right? Like she was talking in the standpoint like we've always been slaves, or maybe she's like speaking about her life, but in her point, believes in her mind that black people history starts with slavery, right? So she was telling in a point that we're always equals and we've always been equal, so that's why you can't have a head. You can't make the men the head because we've always been equal. And I was telling her no, because there's a reason why in Africa that's not how it was, and so now it's never been. Mansa Musa wasn't equal to his wives. You know, there's nothing like that in Africa. And his thing thrived. Mali
There's always
thrived,
a power struggle,
thrived
like
very
even
well.
today.
Yeah.
There's a,
So the thing is, she was
it's,
standing in a point of our history starts with slavery, man. Or maybe I don't.
it
Maybe
doesn't.
you and I
It's only a
obviously we
small
don't.
part.
I was trying to make the distinction between us and other races of women, and the fact that they've had a different beginning to us. So in terms of feminism and things like that, we've always been equal in terms of from the very beginning and even leading up. So it's especially talking about the way that we behave and the way that we present. We don't have the same history, so there's no way that we could present in the same way.
So you don't think it's a choice? So you don't think it's a choice?
Well, no, but I don't think we've been put in a position to have a choice.
I think that's an excuse. Like,
that is
well,
an excuse, of course.
I believe it's an easy cop out because yes, you're partially correct that the history is not the same. Obviously, the experiences are not the same. But at the end of the day, you have a choice. You don't have to be whatever negative characteristics are or uh, are associated with you. You don't have to act those out in your life. You can choose to be different. So it sounds like an easy cop out to me.
Well, single mother rates are dropping. Black women are becoming more educated. We're trying to sort of move ourselves forward in a positive direction. I don't see anything as that as being negative. There's also now a big push actually for us to protect our wombs, protect ourselves, and not have children. There's even to go into the extreme, not having black male children. There's this whole discussion that's going on in social media at the moment. So there's a lot of things, different options.
Well, okay. My question
One sec, TBC. I just want to get on top of Forcing here just because he's just come on the panel. But before I do that, please everyone like the stream, subscribe if you are new. I see some new people here, so hit that subscribe button, please. But yeah, at least at the very least, make sure that you like the stream. So I just want to make sure I put that out there. So on top of Force, I just want to fill you in as to where we are. We're still on topic. So the topic is whether black men are conquered and are we failures. And we've sort of gone into a stage now where we brought black women into the case of, do they trust us to be leaders? Because historically, you could argue we failed when it comes to our business, whether it be being enslaved, colonized, or whether it be just now, you know, our black community now, as we see, is not in the greatest shape. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that whole dynamic, if that made any sense?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I just want to say, so you're saying the topic about black men's failures and are we conquered, etc. Yeah, I'd say, you know, the state of the black community at the moment is all, I'd say it is all over the place, in my opinion, because I've been on Clubhouse and stuff like that, and the stuff that I've seen on Clubhouse in terms of had the division, you know, within black people and, you know, the things that people believe, things are all over the place. Would I say black men are failures? Well, you have to, first of all, like, what black men are we talking about? You know, if we're talking about West Africans, East Africans, Caribbeans, no, I wouldn't say black people are failures because that's subjective in itself. If we're talking about, you know, the education system and things like that, black men definitely aren't failures because there's been studies that show that Caribbeans and Nigerians, you know, Jamaicans, Nigerians are doing well academically. You know,
Caribbeans do well. The Caribbeans aren't doing well here, man. I mean, I would say West Africans, but Caribbeans, I was going to say, that's a pushback on that one.
Yeah, what I meant by the Caribbean is there was an article I looked at, and it was talking about how some Caribbeans, they do well academically or at least starting to, or something like that. But
okay.
But yeah, I definitely do agree that you know, West Africans are doing, you know, well when it comes to, you know, our black men who was conquered, well, when we talk about conquered, you know, obviously what it goes back to is slavery, really, because I don't see how black people are conquered any other way. You know, black people, you know, were conquered in terms of, you know, the business and how they operated in terms of slavery, you know, allowing Europeans to set up stronghold and colonize and conquer African countries. You know, because I've said this before, the word Africa is actually part of a Caucasian man's name. You know, a lot of African countries are European given names. You know, they're not original African names. It's only the language. Even, you know, a lot of African languages were created by Europeans. They're Germanic languages, a lot of them. They're not. It's not even unique to black people within itself. So the thing is, you know, you have to understand is it's subjective. Every race, I think, has been conquered somehow. So you have to think of it in a different perspective. But I'd say, you know, black people, you know, if we're talking about West Africans, I wouldn't say that they're failures. I think they're doing well. They definitely do well. What they have failed in is the community awareness. So, as I told you, I was on Clubhouse and I joined certain chats, and there was like this Sierra Leonean chat or Congolese chat. Yeah, I think it was a Congolese chat. And then I joined the chat, and they told me, "Can I speak Congolese?" And I said no, and they kicked me out. And then there was another chat, like a Somali chat, like a Somali chat, and it was racist. They were being racist towards West Africans, and one Somali guy saying that he's Caucasian. And then you have, you know, another chat which incorporates Caribbeans and West Africans, and they all argue with each other, and you have different views. And then one guy was even being racist. Well, I'm not going to say racist, but he's being discriminatory against me and saying Caribbean people were born to be slaves and were born to be criminals in the UK, and that they're inferior to Nigerians or West Africans or whatever. So what you have is the failure of community awareness. So no one really knows what the black community is, because one of the guys in this chat says the black community. There's no such thing as a black community. You know, there's no such thing as a black community. Like even like in the comments of this video, you have this guy Aaron B, which is obviously he's Ghanaian. You know, I'm not gonna say anything bad about this guy, but I've seen this guy in many other videos, and he's even told me, you know, as you can see in the comments right now, he's saying that I'm a half breed, that I'm not black enough. You know. I mean, it's just that's the example, you know, in itself.
R&B, definitely chill out with them kind of comments, man. But yeah, go ahead.
That in of itself is disrespectful, and you have things like this that are going on in the black community that you don't see in other communities, which I don't know if it's going to improve. One other thing I say is a failure, you know, is the Zanzibar slave trade. Like, what the hell happened with that? What the hell happened with that? Like, those Zanzibarian black Africans, they just got raped and kidnapped and enslaved by other black people, other Swahili, Bantu, West Africanish looking black people, and you had some Somali, Ethiopian, Habesha looking black people that worked with them, that enslaved Zanzibar. And that's why you have countries in Africa that are Muslim and speak Arabic. And, you know, people might like this and they might not care about it, but that is an issue, because even within Nigeria, you know, I'm sure Vincent and Duke knows this. I mean, they may disagree with me, but I'm just going to say it. Most of Nigeria is Islam. Most of Nigeria is Muslim. No one can tell me most of Nigeria is Christian, because all you need to do is go onto the internet and type in which religion dominates Nigeria, and it's Islam, unfortunately.
Well,
You know, so this is the thing. You know, it's good to use statistics. That you have to use statistics, you know, because most of the Nigerians that I know in this part of London are Christian. But once you go into East London, a lot of the Nigerians, they're Muslim, you know, whether people want to believe that or not. I mean, if you're from North London, you might not see it, but in East London and some parts of South East London, I mean, I live right next to a mosque. There's a lot of most of the Nigerians that I know
I'll just say one thing. It depends on what part of Nigeria you are.
yeah,
So
yeah,
in the
but
north, almost everybody is going to be Muslim. If you're in the west, half and half, and then if you're in the east, almost nobody is going to be Muslim.
yeah, but what I'm
So
trying,
yes, in general, most Nigerians would be well,
yeah,
maybe
but
60, 55%
okay.
would be Muslim.
Yeah, well, what I'm trying to say is that in Nigeria, you know, you have Nigeria, okay, and what I was trying to say is a lot of African countries, and you can see this, are dominated by Islam. You know, I'm not going to get into Christianity. Like Christianity, I think is all
No,
right.
I can confirm with you, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah, confirm with you. Yeah, population wise, we are like half and half. But when it comes to the powers that be, the Muslims basically dominate. The Northerners dominate politics. We can't lie about that. You know, that's the
Yeah,
one thing I feel like kind of holds us back
the
too.
Fulani and some Hausa who are dominating politics right now, and it's
yeah,
been that
yeah,
way for the
Yeah,
past 50
yeah.
years or so. So
yeah. I just
Well,
have a
since
problem.
independence.
Sorry, sorry. Yeah. I just have a problem with what happened in East Africa, with those East African black people. Just they were just. It seems as if they were just forcefully taken from what English journalists said. So if you have things like that going on, that probably happened before. You know what I mean? So this is the thing. In Africa, there's been times where they didn't have the power to stop this from happening, unfortunately. And what you have, unfortunately, you know, is some African countries where the main language is Arabic. Now, thankfully, a lot of that isn't in West Africa, but unfortunately, a lot of African countries do have the Islamic influence. Unfortunately, even North Africa is dominated by Islam, and this is the problem with the question of have black people failed, because when you look at an African country that has Islam and has, you know, a lot of Arabs there and stuff like that, is that a bad thing? Was that a good thing? Does
Well,
that
I was
mean
going to
we
say,
failed?
is that a failure then? I mean,
I don't even know the answer. That's why I'll just leave that up to everyone because I don't know. But that's what I have to say.
well, I just have one comment to make, just briefly, right? So most countries either speak in Africa, either speak that the main language or official language would be called English or French, and then a few of them have maybe like one of them is Portuguese or whatnot. But I don't know if being Muslim would be considered a failure because it's just a religion that has spread. It's like Christianity is been spread. And speaking Arabic is just another thing. It comes with religion. When people convert, they usually adopt. Well, in the past, they adopted the language as well. So I'm trying to understand what your point is. Unstoppable force.
I think that there's a point I want to even add on to that. You guys are just joined now, but that was a interesting topic. I would say with it, when it comes to bringing up religion, the important thing about it is when we like to discuss unity and finding a way to find a soul kind of, you know, motive to improve black people in general. Religion is very important in Africa, where who are they going to align with? You know, the majority Muslim communities might not see themselves as black first like we do, or, you know, in the West. So when we want to talk about uniting Africa and all of that, that's a major thing. Like the Muslims are very much loyal to the Saudis. I'm just gonna say it now, not trying to offend anyone here, but people know when it comes to religion, that's when we touch on spiritual alliances. And that's the one thing I would say would hold us back. It kind of has
Look,
hold us back for
you
centuries.
But couldn't the same
Yeah, I've finished.
criticism? Oh, sorry. Go
Go
ahead.
on, Unstoppable.
yeah. So yeah, I just want to say, yeah, from what I've seen, because in where I live in London, I live right next to a mosque. A lot of the people at the mosque I see are like Somali, and then some of them are like Nigerian, you know, and I didn't really understand why a lot of Nigerians are Muslim, because I didn't really understand. But when I researched, a lot are, and I don't know, I don't think a lot are in the UK, but there are some here. And thing is, you know, when it comes to Islam, because I've delved in Islam and I know the racism that's in it, unfortunately, you know, and I've heard stories of Nigerian guys trying to marry a certain woman from Islam, and the family don't accept it. And this is the thing, this is the problem. you know, I think that when it comes to certain religions, it's not helpful for black people. The guy in the chat, you said polygyny. You mentioned polygyny, which is the practice of marrying, which is basically a monogamous marriage with more than one woman, basically. You know, where the woman are just seeing the guy. I mean, that, you know, can be practiced in Christianity, but it doesn't get mentioned because in Western society, obviously, they don't want that to happen. They don't want to encourage that, so they take that out of the Bible and they contextualize it. But I just think that, you know, there needs to be a different kind of way to correct these issues, because I think that, I personally, now thinking about it, I think the fact that Islam, in my opinion, a lot of the Saudis, they don't really fuck with West Africans like that. They don't really fuck with black people like that, because when you go to those countries, a lot of the black people in those countries are they have jobs that are very low level, like cleaning or like being an executor. Like that executor that executes people in Saudi Arabia, he's black. That ain't, why are they making the execution guy a black guy? What the hell is that? what the hell is that? And also the guy looks West African. You know what I mean? That is what the fuck, man. And he has a Islamic name. Like, having an Islamic name being West African makes absolutely no sense. So these things need to change. Like, these things need to be thought about. Like, when you name your child, that's pretty much you know, when you have a child, that's the chance for you to start a new legacy. And this is why, like, for me personally, I don't hate myself, but I only, if I had a child, you know, I would only want to have a child with a certain type of race, certain type of woman. I'm not going to get into that. But that's because of the hand I've been dealt, and the hand everyone here has probably been dealt, being a black guy or West African guy, Caribbean guy, and born in the UK. You know, you have to work through things a certain way. You have to play the game a certain way. You know, you can't do things like how people did it in Africa, having multiple wives. I mean, having more than one wife, that is not really, I mean, you could try that, but mathematically, what woman that's a 9 out of 10, that's a trophy woman, is going to want to be with you whilst you have another wife? Come on, guys. You know what I mean? That it's just a bit of common sense. You could easily find one woman to be with and have a trophy wife, which is what I want. I'm sure Duke wants that, you know, which is why it's better to wait till you're older and play the game right. We have a chance. So it's just about being strategic and forgetting about the failures, maybe understanding it, but realizing that we have a chance to correct it as you know, a black British guy. Like, I think it's better to call yourself black British, because that connects you with other black people, such as a Nigerian or Jamaican guy. You know what I mean? Like me and Duke, for example, I don't see Duke as a different guy to me. Like, I see Duke as a black British guy, and I see myself as a black British guy. Obviously, his bloodline is Nigerian. Hell, I could even be Nigerian if I did a DNA test. So even on that level, is no difference. So by you seeing yourself as a black British guy, you can connect yourself with other black people, you know. And we already know what I feel about with East Africans. I don't really consider East Africans the same as us, but it is what it is. But that's what I have to say for now. But yeah.
I guess my question would be, so you're okay with being called British, but you're not okay with the Arabic influence in West Africa. I'm very confused on that. Aren't they both?
I think it's because, you know, when it comes to Muslim, that overrides your blackness. That's what I think Unstoppable was saying. Because when you have a Muslim who's black, they probably would not even like being called black. Whereas I think Unstoppable was saying, as a black Brit or black whatever,
Yes.
he still identifies with the blackness. Whereas Muslims, it's Islam first above everything. Which means even if we're the same skin color, you are my enemy if you're a Christian. That's what I think it is.
Yeah.
Couldn't that be said for majority of religions though?
No, not in the same way.
Can I clarify, TBC? Are you Muslim, Christian? Just to know context.
I'm not Muslim. I'm just actually genuinely curious.
Cool.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was just gonna point out what you said about, you know, deciding whether to adopt British values, like being black British, basically that identity. I mean, being raised, you know, born and raised in the UK, my idea of being African is to pick and choose what I know is valuable to me, I know my culture has, and strip away the negative stuff that, you know, was practiced by my forefathers. So like polygamy, we're definitely not going to practice it in the West because it's illegal. So yes, promote monogamy as is necessary, and then promote the certain aspects of my culture that promotes positive things like focusing on your career, grinding, and then strip away the negatives. So that's the whole point, is that me being taken away from Africa, now living in the UK, I want to elevate myself. I want to elevate my family. I'll do what I need to do to upgrade myself as an African. I'm not going to start looking around and saying I'm going to claim everything that's African and all the bad stuff. We're meant to strip that away and upgrade ourselves. And I think that's the same for any Black immigrant group. You're not meant to carry every negative thing that comes with maybe parts of our culture. We are here to improve. Like every generation, we're here to improve what our parents and grandparents were doing. And I mean, when people point out the negative things that they see in the villages or whatever, that's not the point. We're here. If you're seeing positive things that Africans are doing or Caribbeans are doing, that's what's meant to be promoted, And I guess I want to go back to the main topic of this conversation, is that are we,
I agree.
conquered people? Yeah. I think we have to look at what to do in the future. I wanted to talk. The only reason I came on this panel was one topic that was brought up, the gender situation where, men are having this conversation and women are having this, Black women are having this conversation. And I know recently there's been some tornado on social media with, Black women promoting divesting and aborting young Black boys. Do you want to touch on that, or is it too, or have you passed it already?
No, we can revisit some of that. I don't mind. So
yeah.
So-called strongest ones.
Yeah, that's that's what.
I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke.
You know what? When I saw that trending, I was like, I wasn't surprised because I knew that's what it was going to lead to. I think it's chaotic. I think it explains a lot when a community of people in the Black people in the West feel like they have no order or hierarchy, or when we want to look down on men or women, whatever, and then we start looking for solutions. What should we do? Let's just abort babies because natural selection. Blah, blah, blah. It's like you don't even know what you really want.
But you were trolling in the chat talking about Team Becky. You were trolling in the chat talking about Team Becky. So what's the difference between what you're saying and what we're saying then?
I don't want to abort my babies because they're Black women, or what does this? what is?
It's the same
proving?
thing, isn't it? It's the same thing, isn't it?
It's not the same.
You're promoting
thing.
the same thing.
No, it's not.
Let me finish.
It's just less. It's just in a different less harsh way. But you're promoting the same thing.
No, it's not less harsh, because at the end of the day, women control life. And when you're women, the matriarch has created this agenda that we're going to punish our men by killing our own boys. Do you know how ridiculous that sounds? Of course, people are trolling all across social media, but when you lead on with an agenda like that, then you're playing a losing battle because people are watching, people are listening.
Yeah,
so at the end of the day, I found it very funny seeing that, blow up, because I know a lot of young men are listening to these names like Cynthia G and all these weird people on social media and being influenced by that narrative. And once they listen more, they start to hear the chaos, the nuclear,
come on, Fiona,
whatever's going to happen now.
You can't compare the two. It's not the same. It's not even remotely the same.
It's
how can you compare?
I mean,
how can you compare murder to something like that? That's not the same thing.
So now it's murder, is it? Oh, I see.
In my opinion,
because they're males, I think it's hilarious. Carry on. I root for you guys.
It's another form of movement. It's another form of selective.
It's funny the amount
of breeding. Selective breeding, as you say. That's what you're talking about.
Promote that.
I think it's funny the amount of mental gymnastics she's trying to justify. Promoting
Wake up, Black men. This is.
See, the thing about
it's ridiculous.
Thing about you Black men, and to be honest, I don't think they're being totally serious. But the thing about you black men is you like to start things, but you can't finish it. So now you're at risk, and you're very selfish.
Start what?
On one hand, you're saying, oh, stop having all these single mothers. You don't want to pay child support, this, and that. Child support's taking you out, and all of this kind of thing. And then when there's a counteract to that, you should be happy. And then you're saying SYSBM in the chat. You're a bit of a hypocrite, really, aren't you? You're a bit of a hypocrite.
Not really. You barely know my agenda.
Well, okay. So for me personally, wait.
Sorry, I wanted to point to what she said. So when it comes down to aborting babies, right? In order to reach that point, you have to be opening your legs to that energy, to those men. So at the end of the day,
or don't have them, or don't
not making those choices. Wait. You're the ones making that choice. If you're aborting babies, why are you having sex with those men?
It's not even about aborting.
Simple logic, exactly.
That's the whole point.
No.
Okay.
Why are
you've taken
why are you laying up with the men you hate? Why are you laying up with the enemy?
Can you let me respond?
Go on.
You're taking the most harsher point of it. It wasn't abort. It was not to have them at all, or to just stay on your own. And which is what this whole die alone thing, that's what you're promoting, isn't it? You're promoting for black women to stay on their own and to not essentially what's dying alone mean? Dying alone is essentially staying on your own and just going away, disappearing. So in general, the manosphere, that's the whole thing.
Right. Okay, my question to you, Fiona, and other women who think like you, is why are you dealing and why do you care about what men who you don't like and don't respect and have no respect for? Why do you care what they do? And why do you care who they choose? That's my question to you.
No, but this is the thing. We've just, you see, I just think you lot just don't like a dose of your own medicine.
No.
For years and years and years, we've sat
my
back.
question was.
We've sat back.
My question was direct. Please answer. My question was very direct. Please answer, please.
Repeat your question.
Okay, why are you dealing with, or why do you care about what men who you deem as conquered, defeated, horrible? Why do you care what they do?
That's the whole point. That's the whole point. That's the whole movement. That's what the movement's about. Is to not engage. That's the whole point.
No.
We're trying to move away from you.
If that was
from the majority, anyway.
If that was the case, then there wouldn't be 10-hour live streams every day talking about the same men who you claim to hate.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's vice versa, isn't it?
I've got something to say.
It's not vice versa because it's not nearly at the same level. But go ahead.
I'll say this: it is vice versa. When you see the SYSBM crowd, the only thing that they do talk about is black women, and it's like, why don't you talk about how good non-black women are or non?
Wait, why it matters? Why it matters? Who do you think? Wait, hold on. Who do you think SYSBM are trying to promote dating more? I think specifically the American black men started this movement. And what do they say about the black women from other countries?
But that's what I said, westernized. So I'm saying westernized. But what they're doing though is
so it's about those westernized behaviors, not what black women. So
well, hold on. I know, but what women are just doing it that's their own version. That's what I'm trying to say. So you're both doing it's the same argument on the exact same coin. Just
it's not the same then.
Coin.
Well, see,
it's not the same.
Okay, so
essentially you started it. I mean, it's quite childish to say, but you started it, and we're finishing it. So
I hate that.
Go on, Jesse.
I'll go something to say, man. I'll make it simple, right? Just date whoever you want to date, right? And then date whoever you want to date. Then just be on your way. If you're happy, you're happy, right? If a black woman ain't with a black man and she's dating out and she's happy, cool. Just leave everybody out of it. At the end of the day, it's between it's between the two people who are in that relationship. right? Because I see this on both sides, right? I've been in the Black Manosphere. I got out of there for many reasons. That's for a different topic. But the reason why I say this is just like this. In the end of the day, you only got one life, right? Bickering, going back and forth. You know, black men, black women, going back and forth. Let them to be happy. Let them date who they want to date. And then just don't say anything about any other person other than the person you're dating with. And it'll be a lot more simpler, you know?
My response to why it matters is this, right? I do see where you came to that conclusion, because I used to think it was the same thing, like the same coin just flipped around, but it's not, because SYSBM does not. It's not nearly as big, not nearly as hateful, and not nearly as focused on the other
On
gender
black
of the
women.
race.
Difference
As
is,
Yes, it
here's
is.
what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. The
no,
difference
it's
is-
not. No, like
What I know what you're saying. The reason why I say that is because women have a more slicker tongue. This is the difference now between the two sexes. Women have a more slicker tongue in how they do things, and it seems more harsher to the male's ears. So I hear what you're saying, but to a woman, it's the exact same thing. That's the difference. Now, whether you think it is or not, that's just how it is. And women, because they control life, they can take more extreme measures than men could ever do.
well, I mean, even just from the audience alone, look at the size of the SYSBM audience compared to the size of the Divest or whatever audience. It's not even remotely comparable.
I don't
Name
know.
any
Very true.
SYSBM channel that has, like, I don't know, like over 100,000 subscribers.
Kevin Samuels
like
has a
two
million.
channels.
Hold
Has
on.
millions of subscribers.
Kevin,
Kevin Samuels is not exactly
Kevin,
SYSBM, I don't think.
Kevin
It's
promotes
not
black women.
SYSBM.
He's
No, he
that
doesn't. No,
that
he does
man
not.
wants black women. Oh, please, Fiona, please. You guys have a dozen different channels of women who promote divestment. Look, I'm happy. Go and divest. But when I started hearing this narrative about killing your black boys, how even making black boys if you're not with non-black men, but then that's another story. Maybe mixed men.
Yeah, I mean, I
would
would
count.
agree on that
I
one.
don't
That's
know.
Good question.
Once that narrative was injected in, I knew that movement itself is toxic. Because I was actually, diverse. You know, like, hey, everyone do you. But now I see it. There's more to it. You want to stab the men you hate so much. That's what you want.
Right,
You want to kill them off. But
I
that's
hear
funny.
you. 1 second, bro. I just want to get the socialite on here because I know, you was going to say something. So, welcome, and what are your thoughts on so far?
Hi everybody, how's everybody doing?
Yeah, doing
I
well.
hope the audio is good. It was a bit choppy earlier. I mean, first and foremostly, thank you so much for having me on the panel. This just came up in my recommended, so I just clicked it. It's good to see some British brothers and sisters talking. I don't really mince words because I don't have the strength or the energy. And to me personally, black men are not really any more conquered than any other group of men. If you are a foreigner in another person's land, then to a degree you're not gonna be at the top. You're gonna have to fight for whatever piece of pie you want to get out of the system, because everybody comes to a different country for the opportunity. There's nobody balling. There's no Japanese Wakanda, Chinese Wakanda, Jewish Wakanda, Asian, Muslim, Wakanda. There's no dominating or war going on where everybody's trying to dominate the land. There's no one trying to take over America. There's no one trying to take over the UK. Okay. Everybody just comes to the UK to work, to earn, and to have a decent life. And most people are average. So this whole, what have black men built? Are you conquered? Are you defeated? A lot of black men are conquered by the mothers who oppress them, the mothers who emasculate them, the mothers who coddle them, the mothers who don't provide fathers for them. That's why a lot of black men are not achieving to the level that they should be achieving, because they are already born in a situation that is not advantageous. And with this whole abort thing, this is not new. Black women have been saying stop giving birth to your oppressor for the longest while, about a good couple of years now. And my thing is, black men just need to divest from black women. Just leave them alone. If they're gonna basically take your seed just to abort it, just leave them behind. A lot of them, they're not. Well, actually, the majority of black men are with black women, so no, they're not doing that.
White Matters can provide you with the stats in the UK, and you'll be very much surprised.
Even I'm sure it's only 50-50. It's not more than 50-50, Fiona. And in America, it's about 80%, 75 to 85% of black men are with black women. The
And
vast
how much of
majority
those
of
are
black
married? How many of those out of those are married?
out of the
About
out of the black
20%?
men in out of the black men who are married in America,
That's the
it is
marriage
75
data.
to 85% are married to black
Right.
women.
I hear
The
you, but from a
vast
UK standpoint, do anyone have those stats? Because we do this a lot, don't we? We try and import
I
these
don't
things.
know what the stats are, but the bottom line is this: if that's what black men are doing, why don't black women ever ask themselves why? It's
Well,
not just, oh, I woke up, I was born, and I wanted a white woman.
Well, Miss Socialite, you're essentially saying the same thing that in a different way, but you're essentially saying the same thing that we're saying, which is essentially that we should all go our own way, which essentially is saying, I mean, I don't think it's as such extreme as abort black babies, but I think what they are also saying is that we should not have children with black men until they prove to us that they're going to do the traditional right and correct thing. So essentially, we're
First and
saying the same thing.
foremostly,
We're not disagreeing, are we? Because if you're saying that,
first and
Can I make a
foremostly,
comment
are
after?
black women traditional? Are black women traditional?
no, because we've been forced
Preach.
Then
into a
what's the
position
point
where
of
we
being a
can't be.
traditional man? What's the point of being a traditional man? Doing all the traditional things and you don't get a traditional woman. What's the point?
We can't be traditional. How can we be traditional? And
Okay,
you're
then
saying
don't
that
expect
in
a
most
traditional
countries,
man then.
you're saying that in most other countries, you're not going to be the leader. Are they leaders in their own countries? Out of the poorest countries in the
How
world,
many
how many
men
of
do
them
you
are
want,
black?
Fiona?
How many
How
of them
many
are
men
black?
do you need? You want one man, you have your kids, you have a house, and you build a family.
Yes, I agree.
Who cares about what the other people are doing? You look for your man, you build a family, and you get on with your life. If everybody did that, we'd have a functioning community.
You look for your
It's that
man.
simple.
Essentially, that's what we're trying to do, but it's failing, isn't it? It's not working out
Well,
that
it's going
way.
to fail because the image of black women is so bad. Like, you've got people twerking on tables and shaking their ass, talking about wet ass, this, that, and the third. Like, what other race of man is tolerating that to the extent the black man
And
does?
what other race of women are tolerating the misogyny that's in music, calling us bitches and hoes? Which other race is tolerating
Black
that?
women like black women call each other bitches and hoes all the time. They like
If
it.
they
You
promote the
can't tell black
bookies,
women to stop doing those things. No one
Wait.
objectifies a black woman
Hold on,
like
hold on,
black
hold on, hold on,
women,
hold on,
Fiona.
hold on.
We
Okay. Okay. So, Fiona. So essentially, what you're saying is that we are more misogynistic than other races. Is that what you're saying?
I think generally in general I think
So
in
the
general I
Middle
think
oh
East,
my
the Middle
god,
East,
in
Asia, North
general
Asia, South Asia,
can I answer?
Asian
Europe.
men,
Can I
Indian
answer?
men.
In general, men are very oppressive. In general, if you look around, even what's happening in
With
the
a
UK,
woman, then.
there's a lot of femicide going on. You can't get away from it. So all men are like that. Yes, I agree.
That's not what you
Let
said
me-
at first, though, because at first you specified to race. So what? Now you're
Well,
changing the story up. You're saying,
only
oh,
because the socialite was saying points on race. That's why I said that.
But you can't
uh,
have it both ways, Fiona. You cannot have protection and at the same time want to do what you want. I'm not talking about you personally. I just mean in general. Protection means telling a woman, don't do this because there's a risk up ahead. That's the point of having the protection of a man, so he can see into the future to guide you into not making certain decisions. Because let's just keep it a buck. It's not like black women are really winning out here. A lot of them are on
let me ask you this one. Let
antidepressants,
me ask you
they're
this one.
single mothers, they're overweight, they're overworked. Like, okay, you're liberated from the oppression, quote unquote, from the men. And a lot of us are still losing.
Okay, so let me ask you
So,
this then. Antisocial. Are you losing? Do you feel like you're out here? Are you a stereotype?
in some respects, yes.
Okay, fair.
But my thing is this,
Now,
I understand that.
but why are you a stereotype? Because one of the things which I want to get to, so I'm really loud on the mic, is why is it that all of a sudden we've gone to black women do this, black women do that, black women aren't traditional? Cool. But when it comes to the men, we can say, oh, the mothers raised them. So wouldn't you say the mother raised you to be who you are?
Yeah,
So
that's what
isn't
I
it
was
your
just
fault as
about to
well?
say.
Okay.
That's what I was just about to say. Like, for me personally, the first, the primary caregiver is the mother. she is going to be the biggest influence because she's the one present with the child from birth. Okay. And in the Black community, especially if you come from like the West Indies or if you're from the States, you know, there's a heavy matriarchal culture where the woman is the one who you cannot criticize. You always have to reverence. And, you know, even if you was a crack fiend, you're still a Black queen mama. Like, there ain't no culture on the earth that says things like this. There's no culture on the planet that would say my mother was a good mother. She did the best she could, even though she was a crackhead. It's only Black people that do this. And they are breaking their
I
own
did a whole
daughters as
stream.
well as their own sons.
So you're saying the majority of Black women are crackheads? No, you're to the extreme.
Fiona, I
No,
really
no,
wish
no.
you
I
would
I
stop
did a
doing
whole
that, because
agree
stream
with
you
it.
about
understand that
how
I never said Black women will. I said no
So
other culture
in the chat,
thinks like
I
this.
mean, I thought you were a man, but in the chat you were saying that you said this whole same thing you're saying
Of
here
course, you
now,
would think I was a
which
man
is that
because most women are not used to being
can I
criticized by other women.
just make my point?
Go on.
No, well, we've got Jessica X as well for that. So yeah, we're well used to it. As I said, it's the Holy Trinity.
Well,
It's
Jessica
white
X
women,
is called
white
Jessica, so
women.
it's obvious she's the female.
It's white women, white men, and Black men that are joined together as a holy trinity against Black women. But no, that's another story.
wow.
That's
But
what's
as you,
ridiculous
Well,
enough.
and this is
I was
why the
like, what is
as
Holy
divestment
you,
crew
Trinity?
is so detrimental to Black people, because the women who subscribe to that divestment community, they live in a perpetual state of self-victimization. If there's the fact of the matter is this: white people, with all due respect, if you have white people in the audience, these views do not reflect the views of this channel. These are my personal views. The white woman understands how to work with her man to oppress everybody, and the Black woman is just used as a tool and a pawn. She's used to basically fuel a lot of the propaganda and
Hold
a
on.
lot of the systems that make money, and
See,
she is used as a weapon against Black men. So,
let me
you know,
let me just
but
go
they're
back on
all
that one, because
they're all divesting though, aren't they? So they're all in better hands.
let me just
According to
who?
them.
one sec. Let me just come back on that, because I hear a lot of this is manosphere rhetoric, and it doesn't really stand the heat when you take into account feminism was a white woman's creation. So when we talk about white women know how to be on white men's side, I call bullshit on that. White women were the reason why feminism
No.
it's not black. It's not Black women.
There is a
White women started.
duality in that, though.
Hold on,
There is a duality in that, because white women
let me
also
land.
recruited Black women.
Nah,
That,
see,
okay.
Yeah.
see, right there. Let me land on it. But what I'm trying to say is this: you're upholding a race of women who now created this movement, which you're now saying is the reason why Black men are failures. I mean, that's the race of women that you're looking up to, the creators of this feminism, which pretty much every single person on this panel hates.
Who?
White women.
Black
They started
Black
feminism.
men.
I don't
Black
look
men
up
are
to white
feminists.
women.
Black men are feminists. You love doing the 50-50. What are you talking about? You love it.
Let's
You're
touch on
feminist.
that. Let's touch on that, because I did say I created a whole stream about how Black men most likely than other men put their women on a pedestal a little too much, to the point where we
Yeah.
call our women strong. We use certain ad libs to place our own women on like an offense, instead of we're meant to be protecting our women, but in a sense we put them on a pedestal to sort of lead
Everyone
a family. That's
pedestalizes
the
their own
problem.
women. That's normal. That's what you're
No.
supposed to do.
Out of all men, Black men are the most simpish, in my opinion. Are the most
Yep.
they
No, they're
allow
not.
a lot of
The
shit to
people,
pass by.
the women
Yes.
that
Look
are
at all
considered
the
the
men.
standard of
Wait,
beauty
hold on,
are the
Fiona.
ones whose
Hold
men
on,
promote them
Fiona.
the most. Okay.
All these other
Okay,
men
and what you
place
have to
higher
understand.
criteria for their women to date them. You have to be a certain size. You have to be this. You have to be that. They pressure their women even more. We say our women in any size or shape, curve, this and that. We
No,
promote
you
it
don't.
even
That's not
more.
what's
And
said.
I,
That's not
to,
what's,
this, to an extent
that
that
is not what is
women
said in
like
this
you
space. You're
are
lying. You're lying.
comfortable
You're calling us all
insulting
fat.
your
You're calling us
brothers. You're
ugly.
comfortable
You're calling us
insulting your
Okay,
men
well,
fat
because you
and
know.
ugly. That's what you're calling us.
I'll
Stop
leave it.
lying.
there's a difference between thick and fat, and you have women trying to compare like a curvy Kenya Moore to freaking Lizzo and say they're pretty much the same thing. It's only in the Black community you have morbidly obese women trying to call themselves thick, whereas there are women who are slim in the Black community that would not get a pass in other communities because they would be considered overweight. So that's just disingenuous.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Jesse. Go ahead.
All right. Question to Fiona. Right. So, do you think I'm part of the Holy Trinity?
No, I think there's a few that aren't, but I think that the collective are. Yes, I do. And to the point of the socialite, I mean, she was saying in the chat that, you know, we raise and influence our children. Yes, we do. But I would say that the difference is up until the age with black boys, up until the age of about when they start secondary school around 12, 13, I think they're influenced by their other peers and older black men. I don't think that they take the influence because they're looking for guidance, albeit they're looking for it in the wrong place, but they're looking for guidance outside of their mother. Their mother's not telling them to go and trap and turn their houses into a trap house.
Where's the father?
Turn around and complain.
Where's the father?
Right.
That's the
Turn
fathers.
around.
So
turn
on
around
that note,
Where's
then,
the fathers, Fiona?
Well, just
Where's the
because you're not,
fathers?
just because you're not with a woman doesn't mean you don't have to be in your child's life. So let's cut it out.
Okay, so but how is the father going to be in their child's life every day consistently if the father and the mother are not together?
Can I interject quickly with that?
What do you mean?
Right.
How are they going to be in the child's life if the father and mother are not together? Easily.
So you don't think that it would make more sense to be in a committed relationship where you're married and you live under one roof and then you start having kids? You don't think that's a better way to do things?
Yes, absolutely. And I absolutely agree with you. So who are the people that do the proposals and the proposing? Who? Is it women or men? In a normal tradition, you see, we like to do things abnormally, don't we? In a normal circumstance, who are the people that propose marriage and who are the people?
A man's not going to propose to a woman that's not worth it. Just because a man will sleep with a woman doesn't mean.
So basically, you're not worth it. Okay.
No, if the guy doesn't think you're worth it, he's not going to propose. If a man doesn't think you're worth it, he's not going to propose. He's not going to enter into a legally binding contract where he's got to feed, clothe, house, and protect you for life. Just because you've got a pretty face and a fat ass.
But he's
just because a man will sleep with a woman doesn't mean to say he wants to marry her.
True,
and that's what a lot of black women don't understand.
No, I hear your point.
Goes for all men.
What about the children part? Because this is another thing as well. This is the live stream. This is the what I wanted to talk about, because all I've heard from the men, and obviously you and Socialite, is every single way a man is not responsible. Every single way, he sleeps with a woman. The woman's responsible. Women's not getting married. It's the woman's responsible. Every single thing you've done, you've pretty much absolved. I'm not saying you have. You have absolved men. And what you're going to say, I know what you're going to say. It's those type of men. And I'm like, okay,
no.
Let
me address this real quick. I don't think you can.
It's the whole reversal thing. It's the whole reversal thing.
Basically,
we've got to get down on our knees and propose to you. It's the whole role reversal thing for me.
Fiona, we've heard what you said, and let me address this real quick because I think we're blowing it off steam now. Men are made to take accountability. Yeah. There's not this play on words where we have to jump and avoid all the conversation. It's very important to acknowledge that men have to take the blunt of it. They have to play child support if there is a need to. It's not as if they're running away from it. Yeah, when they try to, they're punished for it. No, because we're playing games with this. Oh, men aren't taking accountability. They're pushing on the women. The whole point of this conversation is to understand that. Who controls?
You don't pay child support. That's why you're always in arrears. Don't
play around. No. We're playing on antidotes now.
Duke. I'm going to bring out some stats on that one.
Because you brought this up, so I want to address what you just said. Because you have to remember who brings life onto this earth, right? And then when you place men responsible for everything, then you're playing games, because that's the accountability they have to take.
And then when we say we don't want to bring life, then you have a problem with that.
You lay up with them.
There's something in between called birth
control. You talk about abortion. Exactly. There's several benchmarks to get to having
this is something else. This is something else I've been promoting. This is something else I've been promoting: reversible vasectomies, and I would promote it to all black men. It's a 20-minute procedure. You can get it done on your lunch break. Go ahead and do that. So basically,
Fiona, you want to be able to be as promiscuous as you want, not ask the guy to wear a condom because you know he's had a vasectomy.
No, I think you're saying
because what you're
you want access to the BBC, or you don't want to have his kids. Okay.
If we are promiscuous, if we are
because at the end of the day, if you
hold on.
Mm.
At the end of the day, we're responsible, aren't we? We're taking the responsibility of raising them on our own. So
No, you're not
if
taking responsibility
we are
if
taking
you're
No, you're
saying,
not.
I
responsibility,
thought
You're
you had a
supporting them.
we are
vasectomy. That
there.
doesn't make sense.
We are there.
Right. Let me just
You
let me just
just
ask
want
this.
the BBC and to not have any other responsibilities. Is that what you want?
Let me
What?
ask this then, because you're not really answered this question. What is the man's responsibility in all of this?
Strawberry says I'm a mammy.
what-
Do you understand what a mammy is? A
I'm
mammy
trying
is a
to get to the
person
point,
raising a
but
white
you
man's
can-
kids.
Yeah,
Okay,
ignore that,
a mammy
ignore
is
that.
somebody
I would
raising a
answer this.
white man's
Yeah.
kids. If you're a divester, you are the closest thing to a mammy because you have the white man's master's kids. Okay, so if you're going to use the word, use it correctly.
I agree.
Yeah,
Cool.
chat with
Yeah,
that.
Sorry
I don't
about
want
that.
to like
No worries.
over
But
jump
go
on.
ahead.
Yeah, it's cool. Sorry. Yeah, when it comes down to it, this idea that men aren't made to take accountability, we are. The whole
That's what
point
I'm
is
saying.
that
That's what I'm asking. I'm asking.
okay, if we want to specify
Yeah.
what
exactly
no,
are men
go again.
responsible?
Repeat that.
In this situation here, what exactly are men responsible? That's all I'm asking.
The blunt of the situation. If they have to take responsibility in terms of if there's a child that was made out of wedlock, or the situation where a man is abusive or a man has to leave the home, a divorce, men don't have control of that. 4 out of 5 divorces are set by women. And at the end of the day as well, when there was no wedding or marriage, when a child is being born, he doesn't have control over that. So when it comes to responsibility, that comes after the fact. He would have to pay child support. He would have to be chased by the government. So what's this idea that they're not taking responsibility? They have to. There's no choice. It's mandatory.
Not true. And let me give you an example of my life, okay? And I don't normally do this because my life is private. But when I was younger, my dad and my mom were split up. Now, my mom initiated divorce because my dad was, let's just say, not a very good guy. Now, according to your logic, the woman would be at fault because she's a single mother raising kids. Now, my dad didn't pay child support. Well, barely paid in child support because he.
No. He's at fault, right? He's at fault for leaving.
Here's the thing, though.
Being chaotic.
True. But you're saying responsibility lies with just the payment. There's more to it raising a child than payment. Like, I didn't give a shit about payment of child support growing up. There's more to it than that. So when I talk about responsibility, what you guys are doing, the manosphere, is child support, boom, like a payment, like it's some sort of bill. Nigga, I'm not no bill.
No.
I'm a human being.
That's not the point. That's
but
not.
That's what you
I think
I don't think that's what's happening.
We're placing a lot of feeling on this. The whole point is he is responsible regardless, even if the money isn't involved. Look, we have to place this on principle. The idea, okay, yes, he wasn't in your presence. He wasn't able to. I don't know whether he was either allowed to, but in a lot of the cases, men aren't even allowed in their children's lives. So I'm not going to always blame it on the women. Of course not. The situation is a case-by-case scenario. But what we're talking about is a culture that's deteriorating. No, I'm not. I'm trying to make a clear point here. I'm not trying to individualize everything. A culture that is deteriorating because we don't value unity. We don't value a family unit, right? When I'm an African person with a culture where it's taboo to even discuss separation or divorce. We have to create families, and then moving into the West and seeing this culture that I have to adapt to, that I have to imitate because I'm black as well, and then accept that this is what we do. We don't marry. We don't have a proper family house. The statistics are against us. Why would I want to promote that?
The point of the matter
who's
is
responsible for that?
The point of the matter is you don't see other cultures see black children, their children as a legacy, and you see black children as a burden.
Who's you? Are you?
Can I just
a collective of black men see black children as a burden and a payment and something that you have to pay to and be out of
black
pocket
women
for.
see
You don't see it as a legacy.
They see them as a check. They see them as an opportunity to get welfare.
To poverty?
Yeah, of course. Well,
welfare.
If you get benefits,
welfare. So you think they're balling out of control on welfare? Yeah, okay.
No, but at least you've got a little bit of money. You don't have to work. And some of these parents are having these kids because they want company, because they haven't got a man. They rather be a mother than to actually have a partner. But I just wanted to say, with regards to the whole conversation, no one is stopping women from having sex, but you don't have to have kids. And this is what we do a lot in these kind of conversations in the black community. We're like, how do we fix a broken problem instead of just talking about how to avoid the problem in the first place? Like, why are you sleeping?
I agree. It's quality and not quantity.
Men if you really have an issue with having black children.
It's quality and not quantity. I agree. And if you have a look
I don't know what that means.
if you have a look at, so it basically, instead of having lots of children, you should have less children of more quality and have
No,
more
you
quality
just should get
relationships.
married and
I
provide a
agree.
stable environment for your
I
children.
agree. I
That should be
agree.
the
I'm not
ideal
disagreeing with you.
goal.
I agree. I'm not
Doesn't matter how
disagreeing
many
with you.
kids you have if you have them in a stable environment.
I agree. We're basically it's a nonsensical argument at this point because we're both agreeing
No,
on
it's
the
not a
same point.
nonsensical argument because you're like, it's better to have fewer children than more children. And it's like, well, if you have one child, but then you're abusing that child and it's an unstable environment, it doesn't matter.
I think you should have as many as you can afford. And as you say, welfare, I don't think is a proper environment to sort of raise children on, because they'll always be lacking. They won't be, afforded type of things that they need that will make their lives a lot better. So in a sense, I do think you should limit to a certain extent the amount of children that you have.
Okay, but if you have a husband, then you probably can have more kids because you've got two incomes coming in.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so black
then
women need
don't
to
you think
focus
people are
more on
abusing that
being
system?
wives and getting husbands before they start having children.
If you look at the stats, the birth rates are dropping. We're more pursuing education, which again is you being used against us. We're more pursuing education than we're pursuing having children. Why is this narrative
What's the
being pushed on
point?
us? It's not true. It's not true. So we're damned if we do. So if we have children
Education and having kids
early
out
in
of
life,
wedlock.
and we
That's
end
the
up
problem.
out with.
But
So, okay,
Fiona,
so-
what I'm asking you is this: how does having more educated black women overall benefit the black community?
Well, it's just less child rate. So what happens in educated societies, if you look at the stats, the more educated society is, the less kids that they have in general. I don't know if you know, but if you look at the stats when it comes to millennial ages over like 30, a lot of them
Yeah,
are
I
actually,
understand that. But what I'm saying is, how is having educated women getting a ton of debt and spending lots of years in university, how is that helping the overall black community?
Put it this way. Our focus is on something else, which is essentially what you want. You want us to not have children out of wedlock. The earlier you have children, the earlier age, the more likely you're going to have children out of wedlock. If you're more mature, if you're more level-headed, if your frontal lobe is developed clearly and you can think clearly, then you can make better decisions. And similarly, if you're educated, then you can make better decisions.
And who's marrying older women? Who is marrying older women?
What old women are you talking about? But you come out, you finish university at age 21. You come out
your
of
education and got
university
seasoned
at age
in your
21.
career.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that after around 21, you should then get a husband. Is that what's happening in the black community?
It's not happening in the white community either. They're marrying in their late 20s to early 30s.
No. The average age for marriage is increasing. No, the average age is like 28. Actually, in the UK, it's like 31, 32. The average age, especially in UK, where divorce rates are high in the white community. So it's not that cut and dry. That's why I'm like, you guys have talking points. I'm like, oh, the stats I'm looked at. I'll have to show it one time. But the stats.
Okay, so what about black women? What's the average age that black women are getting married, and what percentage of them are getting married?
I don't have those stats broken down, to be honest with you, so I don't know.
When it comes to the UK, yeah, go on.
Yeah, go on. I kind of want to wrap up in a bit as well, guys. It's been a good chat. It's been heated, so I kind of want to wrap up on hopefully a better note. So I'm going to ask a question to the panel.
I'll be brief. So, what is the ideal age for you, for black women to have children there?
Well, I see, quite frankly, and I'm going to probably cause a bit of controversy here. In the UK, I'm in a particular area where there are a lot of women from West Africa. And I'm going to be completely honest, these women do not look like they're in their 20s and they've got toddlers. They look like they're in their 40s, hitting on 50. I know that black women tend to see their menstrual cycle to a lot later in life. So I don't know why that's happening, but they're very proud, and they've got these toddlers.
What age?
And they're not in their 20s. They look like they're middle-aged, in their 40s, and they've got these
What
toddlers.
age do you recommend?
And this is happening all around London. So if you're
what
saying
age
that
do you
there's a
recommend,
certain
Fiona?
cutoff point for women, it depends on the woman. Well, I'd say from late 20s, early 30s is fine.
Okay, fair enough.
In line with what other people in other communities are doing.
Right, because the thing is like I'm basically autistic, right? I have Asperger's syndrome, right? And my mom had me relatively late, around 40 years old, right? The thing is there is a link. If you tend to have children a lot more later in life, right? That child is more prone, or there's more of a likelihood to basically develop Down syndrome, or like what I have, autism, or some sort of autism, or Asperger's syndrome. So
Well, my mum had me in her 30s, and I'm fine. Some of you might
There are
argue that
exceptions
point,
to the
but
rule,
I
Fiona.
did
Still,
say
yes, but the
not
chances are
all.
higher.
I said the
Higher
well,
chances
risk.
were
this is the
higher.
thing. A lot of black men are saying that that they can have children up into their 70s, which isn't necessarily a good
Oh,
thing
here
either.
we
There's
go.
research into that there's issues caused from men having children
Yeah, it
younger
always has to
as
come back,
well.
back to the men. Yeah, yeah.
Hold on
I
though.
mean,
Right?
of course,
Eh,
we know that the older. No. I know, understand the men also at an older age increase in high risk as well.
Yeah,
But when it
geriatric
comes down
is
to
well.
the birth of a child is very important. Yes, the deviation is about 10 to 15 years more than the women. So I mean, to raise that point, it's not like men are going out here trying to have kids at 70. Is that women are pushing the age range even further because they want to have prioritize other things like career and school. Look, I would promote that too. Educate yourself, women, but you need to simultaneously think about your values too. Do you want to start a family and also have a career? Find a way to work it out as soon as
The
possible. Don't play
Duke,
around. Don't,
the
yeah,
Duke.
go on.
Black men are behind in the progression of life. It takes you a lot
I don't
longer
know
to
which
get to a
black
certain
men
station in
you
life.
associate with, but
So
you know,
we're
if
waiting
you
for
can
you
find
to
a
catch up.
successful black
We're
man,
waiting for
go on.
you.
No. You
So
want to play
if
that game where you focus on the pookies and rares if you want to, but if you want to look for a successful black man, you can
so
aggressively find that. If
when
you
are you
want
going
to
to be
start a family,
established? When are you going to be
you know, if
established
you want
at
to,
40?
who
At
you
40?
talking
Is that
about? Are you
what
talking
age?
about pookies
As a collective, what
or
age are
the
we looking
successful
at?
black man?
As a
Which one do
collective,
you
what
want,
age
a
are we
pookie
looking
or
at?
a successful black man? Okay, Fiona, do you want a pookie or a successful black man? Let's answer that question and we can move on.
What's the collective?
Okay,
That's
then
what I
I'm
want.
guessing you want a pookie then because you don't want to answer that
So you're
question.
saying the
That's the
collective are
problem
pookies?
with women like you,
Okay.
is that you want to focus on the degenerates of our society and make that the problem. The issue is that you don't want to look for that for yourself. You want to play that game, that victim game. Divest then. You don't need to deal with people in this community. I don't have to deal with you,
Well, you're behind.
whoever
I
I
don't know
am,
whose
to
fault
you.
that is, but you're
It
behind.
doesn't matter.
It's not
Look,
my fault.
when you talk about salary wise, men in general make more than women in all races. You want to play that game? Doesn't have to be.
Actually,
Doesn't
Well,
matter how many
are you?
grads.
You need to
It
compete
doesn't
with
matter
other
how
men,
many
though. You can't
graduate
compare men.
degrees you
You can't
have.
compare our
Men
salaries with
in
yours.
general make
You
a
have to
higher
compete
salary
with
than women.
other men.
you can
Hello, you have
And
to
you can
compete
confirm
with
the
other
stats
men.
why it
I
matters.
say, yeah, I've got the stats, and let me say something. I'm going to say something. There's 3 ethnic groups that don't. Women are making more than men, and Africans, men make more than women. Caribbean women make more than the men. And I know Fiona's Caribbean, so I will say this. And in terms of
Okay,
African,
so when we talk about this conversation, I'm an African man, so I don't really want to always associate myself with every other group. That's not my business. So when Fiona talks to me and says, you black men, I'm like, hey, African men, they're doing their thing. I don't need to deal with other groups of women who have an issue with black men. I don't really care for that. My culture is my culture.
Let me
Your
ask you this
culture,
question, Duke.
deal with it with your people.
Let me ask you a question, Duke.
Yeah,
Because
what's
I've
up?
heard you on another panel saying this, that your African women, you don't like to date. You finding dating them is quite difficult.
I
doesn't
don't.
date
I
African women. He
prefer.
doesn't date any
I've mentioned it
Afrocentric
before.
women.
That's your problem, Fiona. You don't listen. Why am I? As I've been on your panel and I've said it specifically. I would rather date women from my country in my country, not the women here in the UK
I thought you
who are
said you
more
didn't want to do
westernized.
that
Because
neither.
I've already mentioned it on your panel before.
I know, but
is that
I'm sure you said that you won't want that because of the hypergamy. It's just you won't want that. I thought that was another thing you did. Like, no,
I would, because as a black British, I've raised in the UK. I have a different way of thinking, but I would rather marry a woman from my country in that country, because my perspectives has changed. Because living in the UK, I thought I wouldn't have a problem with that. I'll find a Nigerian woman and date her. But with experience, I realized that they are adapting to this Western behavior, this other culture of black women, and they want to associate with that. I see on social media they talk the same way, they want to act the same way. Then I'm like, okay, fine, I would move and I'll pull my options because I don't want to associate with that degeneracy. And so that's what the game I play too. this is a version of divestment, if you want to
What type
call,
of
call it that.
degeneracy are we talking about? Not.
Hot city girl, you know, waste your time in your late 20s, early 30s, play around. Or I don't want to take this seriously. I want to Gucci, you know, messing
You argue
around,
though.
not taking, you know,
Yeah.
conservative values seriously.
But the one thing I'll say though, and this is
So-
just it. Men have never been on that. We're gonna get married young. Maybe are we getting upset because women are acting more
Which
like
men?
more than we think?
White mans, which men? Which men are you talking about? Because
Okay,
I don't know, maybe that's
sorry, but maybe this is me, but the average guy, and I mean this, the average guy does not want to settle down before 30. I'm telling you, the average guy does not want to do that or have kids.
it's not about
Sorry,
settling
get
down
married.
early. No. I don't. That's where you got it wrong. Men don't have to obviously settle down in the early 20s, but when they are ready, established, financially stable enough to do it, that's when they will start families, and that's during the early to mid 30s, and that's just the trend in all races of men. I don't know where the confusion is. It makes sense, and those men will tend to date or marry women 5 to 15 years younger than them. There's
Not
nothing
quite.
wrong
No,
with
that's
that.
no.
You know, that's
No,
the
that's
also
general
another
trend.
stat, which is also
That's
a stat which has
incorrect.
been over exaggerated.
What's incorrect?
The average marital age is 5 years difference. That's the average. I think it's even 3 to
I
5
said
years.
5 to 15 years. It could be
But
younger than
15
that.
is
That's probably the
15 is
extreme.
way too much.
5 to 15.
Age gap
Not 30.
relationships are
What's
not the
the big
norm.
deal?
I repeat, age gap relationships
No.
are not the
Not
norm.
saying that we
Big
don't
deal. I
see it.
said
they
5
should
to
be.
15.
Yeah, but it's
And
like
there's
3 to
nothing
5.
wrong with that.
It's like 3 to 5 to do. That's what I'm saying. It's
What's your point in stretching? So what? I said 5 to 15.
bro,
It could
5 to
range from
15
that.
is
There are
quite a big
15,
range.
that's a huge
Bro,
range.
that's a big range. That's a big range, man. That is a big range. You have to admit that.
This is long. The point
Anyway.
has been
Sorry,
made
can I
already.
say
Men
something?
tend to date women younger than them.
Yeah,
Period.
no, I agree with
Let's
that.
leave
I
it at
agree with that
There's no-
statement. I agree with that. Go ahead, socialite.
Although it's not the norm, I promote age gap dating heavily. I really am like, if black men are so defeated and conquered and unestablished, you have to get accustomed to the idea of dating an older man, because it will take men longer to get established, and maybe black men longer than other groups of men. So this whole culture of, if you are older man with a younger woman, that's predatory. In some certain cultures, that's just normal. That's common sense and commonplace. And again, that's one of the ways that black women keep the cycle of poverty in the black community going, dealing with a lot of young guys who are broke rather than just getting with an established man. And that's partly because an established man will have standards, and there's certain things he won't tolerate. And so these women rather date these young guys who haven't got anything than to deal with a guy who's actually got something. So it's just one big Jedi mind trick, man. Like, it's just a game.
in general,
my dad is 17 years older than my mom. He waited. I'm the firstborn. He waited to have a family when he was established. When he grinded for years in the UK and America, and he said, "Okay, I want to settle down with a family," and he did that because that's just generally what we were taught to do. That's within the culture. Once you're ready to start a family, you do that. I don't know about rarity. Culturally speaking, it's common in the Nigerian families. We don't really, we actually promote age gap marriages. So when we talk about statistics and all of that, culturally speaking, Africans don't really stretch that to an extent. If a man is established, he can decide what type of woman he will prefer to marry. And at the end of the day, it made sense when our family was created, because he was established and she was, a young woman in her early 20s, and it worked out. There's there's 5 of us, and it's a stable family. So I don't understand the extremes of this conversation.
But you're doing the same thing that you're criticizing other people for doing. You're doing that. That's my example. Therefore, don't.
No, I'm seeing that's one. The whole point of it's I'm showing you a success.
No. Well, I hear you. I'm not saying that you're not showing a success story. I hear you, but I'm just trying to say your age range around the world, except for a few nations, and Nigeria is one of them. I will admit the age range is no way near that big. That is a rarity to have a man 17 years older than the female partner. That's all I'm saying. But as an average, it's nowhere near that large. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Of course it happens. We see it all the time, but they're rare examples. But that's just what the media sometimes will promote. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if you put yourself on mute. I don't know if you did that. Or...
I think he's dropped off. I don't know what's happened because I
I'm
think
here.
there was
Sorry.
5 people.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying that. So a 45-year-old man is unable to date a 28-year-old woman.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Now?
I'm saying
like
the real.
I'm using on that's 17 years difference.
I'm saying that's not the norm.
And that's,
I'm saying
I would say
you don't see that like that. I'm saying you don't see it like that. I'm saying the average, and I'll bring it up. I'm gonna have to bring it up because I saw the
that's fine.
Stats
Look,
across the globe. It's 3 to 5 years, and exceptions are like Nigeria. Because I'm going to say it, you do have a lot of Muslims over there. We do. I think that might be part of it, but majority of people they marry around the same age range, about 3 to 5 years. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, my whole point is I don't want us to digress from that conversation. Yeah.
Okay.
At a certain point, men decide to settle down and they might choose a younger, beautiful woman. That's the end scenario. You know what I'm saying? That's the point I'm making here. And I think there just needs to be a trend in the West, in the UK, where our culture, whatever it is, because we are trying to create it, you know, Black British culture, whatever that exists today, is to improve it, right? Are we going to improve the marriage rates, or are we going to continue to deteriorate and then divest or SYSBM, all of that, you know, rhetoric?
Well,
are we going to do that,
final...
or are we going to try and improve it?
Well, this is my final thing, which I'm going to say, because again, Genie's out the bottle now, and this is why I just wanted to sort of end on this, and I'll just ask an open question then. Is there any way, because of us reconciling, or is it just over? That's what I really want to say. That's gonna be like the final question or the final sort of point I want to ask to the panel. So at this stage now, given this as well, the IR dates is huge in the UK, huge. Mixed kids, I remember a stat in 1996 when mixed kids were out birthing black kids by 2 to 1 at that stage. It's less than now. But what I'm trying to say is it over? I'm saying, can we have a reconciliation between the genders?
I could answer that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Unfortunately, I'll say no. Someone who's lived it, someone who's been on the field, someone who's been a youth worker, worked in many black businesses, right? Someone that in some cases has been born in a dysfunctional household, right? I just feel that our culture, if the only way I would say we're done, right? But what I think is unless we take away the negatives of the Black British culture, I don't think there's no coming back from it, because the things that are being promoted that are very negative are the underbelly of the black community. The negative things of the black community is put up to the forefront, and it's just growing bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Until I see a shift and change, I cannot see anything changing. And that's why I say it's done, because the very things that are very negative in the Black British community, I can't see it being dissolved, taken down, or changed. I can't see it. You know, I look at the statistics. Yes, there's certain things that are improving, yes, but in the grand scheme of things, I just really can't see anything like to get more positive, you know. And yes, it's the black community or the Black British community, but it's also other communities as well. But unfortunately, that is how I see it, you know. And the only option I could really say is if the black community wants change, or, you know, Black British community wants change, we're gonna have to sacrifice some things that we enjoy. And I don't think a lot of people can do that. And that's really my answer to that.
Okay. No. Oh, you put yourself on mute? Oh, no. Okay. Sorry, I thought your lips were moving, but I couldn't hear anything. So the Duke, same question to you.
Yeah, so are you saying, is it possible for a change, for an improvement?
Just based on what I'm hearing right now, I'll be honest with you. Yeah, my opinion is it's one thing, but yeah, do you think it's even possible for that to take place?
I think unity amongst,
realistic. just to get a better stage, because right now it just seems like it's not going to be the case. So realistically, then, what are your viewpoints?
It's possible. I do think it's possible. I think it comes down to getting on the same page. Do we want the same things? Are black men hoping to start a family? Are black men hoping to grind, to be successful in this UK? You mentioned interracial relationships that's blowing up. I think it's not down to the fact that we hate each other. I think also just the fact that we live in a country where over 85% of the country is white, and you're more likely to associate with people around you. It just happens. I mean, even with black women too, you know, interracial relationships occurs regardless, amongst Asians as well. When we look at those statistics, it's not meant to always reflect a symptom in our community, you know, wherever that could be. But the issue I'm seeing a lot on social media, or just hearing rhetoric from outside the public, changed my perspective a lot. If you saw me 5-6 years ago, I was pro-black, you know, or pro-black women. I'm only going to date black women. But when I saw certain things being said on social media, even in person, that really bothered me. That scared me off. I was like, nah, this isn't what I want, especially in the UK. I thought it was an American diagnosis. Something is going on there. But now it's like, we're imitating them. So I got fed up. What I saw recently with this, you know, diverse and abort nonsense agenda, I laughed at it because I saw it happening too. If we can get on the same page, if our, you know, women would want us to do better and, you know, promote and push each other, then sure, I'll come back and join the movement, whatever that is. But at this point, no one really cares for each other. We're imitating the ADOS folks. I don't know what that is. We're only 2 million in this country. Yeah, we seem to think that we reflect some major movement, you know, and you just can hear me ranting right now. But at this point, I think it's for men who don't care anymore, we're fed up, SYSBM or whatever, you know, just live your life, man. Live it for yourself, live it for your family. Don't care about no movement, because I don't know what this culture represents right now. But until there's a change, don't stress yourself, okay? Men, black men, you're not conquered. If you want to fight, if you want to grind, do it for yourself, do it for your family, do it for your siblings, sisters, brothers, whatever that is. Right now, there's no community. Until that's fixed, don't stress yourself. And that's it for me.
Cool. No. Like, I love your viewpoints, man. I love your viewpoints. Fiona.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to change device. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say that I don't think that people have been honest. Sorry, there's a bit of an echo. I generally think that you know, black men divested, in terms in the UK anyway, a very long time ago, and you know, they've done it very covertly and very silently. And we're only now catching up on this trend as black women in the UK. And yeah, in some ways we have taken our lead from American women, and a lot of the things that they're saying. And with the advent of social media, we're all coming together and seeing that we're seeing and experiencing the same things. I don't think that black women are doing anything differently to what they have been doing historically. I feel that because of the breakdown of barriers, and because of the acceptance, and because of the way that it presents and the way it looks, black men have simply decided that that's the route they want to go. I don't actually think within the UK there's any underlying issue that we've created as black women. I just think that that's something that they want to do. That's something that they, I wouldn't even call it a preference at this point. I think that's just something that that's the way they want to present, and that's what they've chosen, and that is their choice, and their goal is to not be as a collective with black women. And you know, that they made that mainly, I'd say, around the 90s, and have just continued on in that same vein. So, you know, as I said, I believe that men are the controllers of marriage, they're the proponent of marriage, and that they're the hunters. And, you know, until they decide that they want to do something differently, I don't think that there's anything we as black women can do, as apart from, as the Duke said, is just to continue with what we're doing, continue to get educated, continue to look after ourselves. and just try not to fall victim to and become another, as the socialite says, another stereotype. But that's all from me. And thank you so much, Why It Matters.
No. Thank you. Always appreciate your viewpoint as well. And last but definitely not least, antisocial socialite, your closing thoughts.
Yeah. Again, thank you for having me on the panel. I know I kind of came in a bit strong.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Make sure you subscribe. But go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Number one, if Black women want to divest, I wish they would just go. Like, all this talking about promising to leave and not going is getting a bit much. If you've got all these options, just go and expand and go. Like, I don't understand why Black women are always threatening to leave, but they never seem to actually go anywhere. For Black men and for the Black community, I do think that it is very much over, because a lot of women are getting more carried away with this whole, we have to go and divest. Like, for me personally, like, we are not under a system where you have a forced marriage. We are free to date who we want, sleep with who we want, and have the children we want to have. In the 21st century, no woman is a single mother unless she wants to be, because she has more than enough forms of birth control to help her manage her pregnancies and to stop a pregnancy if she doesn't want one. So, if you're not getting the kind of men who you think are worthy of you and are not good quality men, then you have to do something different to attract the kind of man that you say you want. Become the kind of woman that man would want. Because yes, men are the gatekeepers of marriage, but they're only going to commit to a woman that he feels is worth it. So, if you're sleeping with guys who don't want to commit to you, if you're sleeping with guys who don't want to commit to you, you got to ask yourself, what's in me? Why I retain this kind of man in my life? Why do I keep dealing with guys who don't see me as anything more than sex? It's your body, your choice, your responsibility. And so, and I'm actually a proponent right now. I'm pushing guys to say, form your own community and be open to a surrogate, because men raise children better than women in the end. Children raised by single dads, they turn out better. And so if we want to see a turnaround with the culture, we need, you're saying fathers are not involved. Well, let the men just raise them from the jump by themselves with no women in the picture. So, yeah, that's all I've got. Thank you so much once again. I hope everyone has a good night. And I'll be sure to subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe.
Thank you for that.
Boss.
I wanted to say, yeah, Myth, you didn't need to time out Pan-Africanism for that. You didn't need to time him out for that. So come on now. Moderators, just want to say this. Ad hominem attacks, I'm going to say this. You give him a warning, and if to keep doing it, then obviously time him out. But some of the stuff, I'm like, yeah, let him rock out. I don't mind disagreement. I like having different viewpoints, because not everyone can agree, particularly on this situation. But no, thank you to everyone in the panels. It's been a wonderful stream. It's flipping out. We've been going for
So I just wanted to ask real quick. Sorry, I just wanted to ask. Antisocial socialite, you make videos, right, on your channel?
Yeah,
Does
yeah.
She? Yeah. I've come across your videos before. Okay, yeah. Just to confirm it. Okay, yeah, I'm subscribed to you already. Yeah. Much respect.
Salute. Thank you.
Right, cool. But anyway, everyone in the chat, please make sure that you like the stream. If you listen on the playback YouTube, also please subscribe if you are new. Hit that subscribe button and the bell, all that kind of good stuff. But no, again, it's been a wonderful stream. They've definitely given me some ideas of my next live stream. So yeah, definitely stay tuned. Make sure that you got your notifications on. So, but until then, thanks everyone again. Thanks for coming on. Thanks to everyone who's on the panel before, Red Pill, TBC, all them good people. Until next time, we're out of here.